that his ex Jane testified about that really turns things on its head here in this case. And what happened on that night was pretty
Hey,
graphic.
T-Sippers.
Hey everybody, Charles here, and welcome to day 21 of Diddy's federal trial. And stick around because what we're going to tell you about is a Valentine's Day surprise, a night that his ex Jane testified about that really turns things on its head here in this case. And what happened on that night was pretty graphic. So Jane's third day on the witness stand was under cross-examination. Diddy's attorneys questioning her about her relationship with Sean Diddy Combs. And clearly what they wanted to present to the jury was how much Jane was in love with him. And there were a lot of text messages put up throughout the day. And really, I'm going to go through some of them. We can't do all of them. But we really want to hear from you guys in the comments here because this is a very interesting day because the things that Jane says, these text messages and how she is characterizing them really comes down to one thing. Was she forced to be in this relationship? Did Diddy know that he was forcing her? Obviously, the government is presenting this as Diddy coercing her to stay in this relationship, to continue doing these freak-offs, even though she has said she didn't want to. But how much of that did she share with Diddy? Did he know that he was coercing her into this? Because that's what the whole sex trafficking charge is going to come down to. So one of the text messages after a hotel night that they had together, remember, hotel nights is what Jane refers to it. Cassie called them freak-offs, but these are their parties with male escorts. So after this one, this was in August of 2022, she wrote to him, "That was so much fun, baby. My love for you is unconditional and for life."
Did he
She's
know
referring to that
it was
particular
she was being
freak-off
forced?
that they
Hey,
had.
come on
And
in.
she also talks about Paul. Paul is the So Jane's third day on the witness stand was under cross-examination. Diddy's attorneys questioning her about her relationship with Sean Diddy Combs. And clearly what they wanted to present to the jury was how much Jane was in love with him. And there were a lot of text messages put up throughout the day. And really, I'm going to go through some of them. We can't do all of them. But we really want to hear from you guys in the comments here because this is a very interesting day because the things that Jane says, these text messages and how she is characterizing them really comes down to one thing. Was she forced to be in this relationship? Did Diddy know that he was forcing her? Obviously, the government is presenting this as Diddy coercing her to stay in this relationship, to continue doing these freak-offs, even though she has said she didn't want to. But how much of that did she share with Diddy? Did he know that he was coercing her into this? Because that's what the whole sex trafficking charge is going to come down to. So one of the text messages after a hotel night that they had together, remember, hotel nights is what Jane refers to it. Cassie called them freak-offs, but these are their parties with male escorts. So after this one, this was in August of 2022, she wrote to him, "That was so much fun, baby. My love for you is unconditional and for life." She's referring to that particular freak-off that they had. And she also talks about Paul. Paul is the guy that yesterday she said that their nickname for him was Shaq. She was Kobe and Diddy was Jordan, and they were the trifecta. So she is addressing the fact that she really enjoyed their encounters with Paul. But while Diddy's defense is trying to make it sound like, look, she was so into this. She loved having Paul. She asked for Paul. she wanted to clarify this. She said, if I had to do what I had to do, at least there was somebody who had a warm energy about them. So, yes, she is saying positive things and had positive feelings about Paul, but she's saying, I'm only doing this because this is, at least I have an option here. She would prefer to not have the hotel nights at all, but she felt like these were the circumstances of the terms and conditions, as she put it yesterday, of this relationship. She said, if I see him, Diddy, there is a request for a hotel night. So I'm just adapting to my circumstances. I'm adapting to my environment. So yes, there were moments when I suggest or organize these things under the pressures of my lover. Yes. I think that's a key thing there. She says, under the pressures of my lover. So she certainly feels pressured to do this. Does Diddy know that he's pressuring her? That is the big question here. And then there's another moment she talks about, and you can tell why Diddy's attorneys bring this up, because it does not paint a picture of this is someone forced into this. She admits on the stand that she had matching shorts, that she bought matching shorts for them all to wear during one of their hotel nights. If you're going out shopping for matching outfits for this sexual encounter you're having, how much are you against it here? Now, look, she made it clear on several occasions during her testimony, I'm only doing what I had to. And what this is really going to come down to is, did Diddy know? She said that after the apartment that she's currently living in, which Diddy, we now know, is still paying for, but the night after the first night she was there, she texted him, the fact that you are the reason for my child's joy is a feeling inside me that I can't explain. I love you so much as my friend, my lover, my boyfriend, even though you don't like that word. The boyfriend word is what she's referring to. So she is gushing about him in these messages and making it, and in her communication to him saying, I love you. She's not saying, I hate this situation. She's saying, I love you, and I think of you as my boyfriend, even though you don't think of it that way. Now, as for the hotel nights, she said this, she said, I resent him for knowing how much I loved him and how I couldn't say no to him. She's saying that she didn't say no to him. Yes, he wanted these things, and in her mind, she has said, this is not something I wanted. And even she did testify that there were occasions where she told him she didn't want to continue doing these things. And he would always say, look, you just try. You got to try it. And then she would take ecstasy by her admission and then get through it, is the way she describes it. The question is to be, what did Diddy know? And what's difficult for the jury here is Diddy's not going to take the stand. And I would be shocked. Look, it's still possible that his side will call him to testify, but that would be absolutely shocking. So they're not going to know exactly how Diddy, what was his belief of what was going on here. Did he understand that how much Jane didn't want to do these things? That's what it all comes down to. So I'm really curious what people out there are thinking about this. You've heard what Jane has said, how she's described their relationship and having to do the hotel night encounters. Was she forced into this? And more importantly, does Diddy know that he's forcing her into it? That's what it's going to come down to. Now, New Year's, two more things about the hotel nights. She said
Lord,
the
I gotta
longest
stop,
one.
y'all.
This is, I don't even know
Oh,
how.
Lord.
There's got to be a lot of drugs involved, clearly. She said the longest.
The question. Ain't that a gospel song? Question is. Diddy? No, I was trying to let that play out until we could find a stopping place. The question is, did Diddy know? Is that what we're going to do? Is that how we doing it? Do I need to change my background? Is that how we going to do this? Here. Did Diddy know? Did Diddy know what? That he was a Romeo pimp? What? Did he know that he was playing in people's heads? Did he know what? Did he know that he was a master manipulator? Did he know what? Did he groom her? Do he have a certain type? For the most part, do he have a type? A troubled woman's type? Not only a look, but a type that he can easily manipulate it. Did he know? Hey, y'all, this is AunTeaFee about them facts. How you doing? And the fact of the matter is, yes, he knew. She wasn't the first. Hell, she was the last. Didn't he just the other day, it would come out that he said, is this coercion? He knew what he was doing. He's a pro at it. He picked certain type of women with certain type of previous issues that is easily manipulated. He damn near could have just went to a Greyhound bus station and looked at somebody who got off the bus that looked like they was lost and wasn't from that city. He targets women. And hell, some men. Some of them he have to trick. Some of them may start out thinking they tricking him with the coconuts in the, you know, the trunk. I don't know. But when he switched it up from romance to trafficking, that's a whole nother ball game, baby. Some of these women could have went in thinking, I got skills and I'm going to put it on him and make him fall in love. They may have went in thinking that. And he may have went in thinking, oh, she is really a pretty, nice young lady. But then that sickness in his head kicks in. Yeah. And then he figures out after he love bombs them. Because he love bomb them all. Don't you, Diddy? Don't you dangling, Diddy? He dangle more than just that thing, don't he? He dangle houses, cars, love bracelets. What is the love contract? Are they gonna break that down? What was the stipulations of the 2-year love contract? AunTeaFee wants to know. Cause I heard some foolish person say they didn't have a contract. Well, hell, he says contract. So what does that mean? If he said contract, what does that mean? Shit. Coming from the Dolph word, that means independent if you ain't got no contract. So he uses the word contract. So she wasn't independent, was she? They had an agreement, right? They had a deal, right? They had something. What was it? What was the terms of it? I need for somebody to break that down for AunTeaFee. And let it be a day that I have my good ear. Let me take this out, because just in case it come out, I need to be able to hear it with my good ear. This is my good ear, y'all. So when y'all see this earring dangling, That means I'm listening intensely with my good ear. What was the terms of this love contract? Because it's awfully clear to me that there's only one way you can prove your love to Diddy. Somebody asked me how. Hey, Mr. Hey, Sean. Hey, Anthony. Somebody, hey, Eric. Hey, everybody that came in. Ask AunTeaFee, how can you prove your love? Ooh, I guess we family now. We locked in. Excuse me? Excuse me, that just came out of nowhere. I guess I was deep into it. How? How do you prove your love to Diddy? Somebody asked me how. Christine, thank you for asking AunTeaFee how. By sleeping with escorts. Not just sleeping with other men, because then that means you cheating. I cannot believe you cheated on me. Got his whole Fat Albert voice. What is this? You mean, who is Buster Burr? Whoever. Yeah. I cannot get over this. This means that we are through for real. Why? Because she slept with another guy? So what's the difference in Paul and Thunder and Lightning and the Donk Rod and Big Rod? And I ain't talking about R.O. You know what I mean? Big Rod. They're bigger than this. Yo. Bigger than the Tootsie Roll. So what's the difference? Why she could sleep with 3 men plus you in one night, but she can't sleep with somebody without you? Then she cheating. Now she cheating. The only way a person can prove they love to you in these relationships, those are contracts. You said that y'all had a contract. 2 years. 2 years. The only way to prove love to love is to have them sex offs. Them XXX. Yeah. Them poly. Now you done made it a poly. No, poly is when I thought y'all all live together. Sister, brother, hell, it ain't even sister wives. What is it? If it ain't sister wives, it's brother husbands. I mean, what? I think Paul was doing more than working Diddy, yeah. For some reason, I think he got off with other people outside their little menage a trois plus 1 and 2. Is when he had them real after parties where all the celebrities are. And then that's when they kind of DRUG them up. And then he have to steal it. Manipulate it. I wonder, are they, oh, I hope Q go on the stand. Are they going to ask Q, did he know what he was doing when he did it? Yeah, that's why he had cameras. That's why he sent somebody to give him horse pills and shit. He know exactly what he's doing when he's doing it. He knew exactly the position that old girl was in. He love bombed her. Ooh, baby, that's why I tell you, don't love me too hard too quick. I be want to know why. Why you feel like that? Ooh, I think you my wife. Why you think like that? God told you that. Why he didn't tell me? Because me and him, we cool. We partners. He have my back when I don't have my own. And if he can talk me out of some of the shit I was about to get into, if he can direct my path here, if he, yeah, that mean that he can tell me if you my husband, not husband, my husband, huh? So how he tell you your wife, but he ain't tell me you my husband. Boo, that's a red flag. You baiting me into something that I have no idea what I'm getting into. See, y'all be thinking I be playing and stuff. I be telling the truth. Some of the stuff I be saying like that be real life experiences for me. Please don't tell me early on that I'm your wife. Why? Why you say that? Cause you're nice and you talk, you pray with me, and you're beautiful. Okay. Don't you see that at church every Sunday when you go? Don't somebody pray with you at the Lord's house? What? What make me special? AunTeaFee be wanting to know, baby. And again, that's also like a man telling me he a good man. Who co-signed that? Who told you that? You telling yourself that you're a good man. Like I'm supposed to be happy that a good man want me. Oh, okay. See, that's that. See, when I'm thinking of this type, when I'm listening to this Diddy stuff, y'all, I'm gonna be honest as honest can be. I'm hearing all of that narcissistic, love bombing bug. Shit. Woo, did I have to hold it? Shit. Baby, if you didn't give me with that type of stuff in my 20s, I'm looking at you sideways in my 30s and for baby. What? You're gonna have to come at me different. So every time I'm looking at Diddy, it irks me that these women was so caught up in whatever. Where your mama, where your sister, where your auntie, where they at? Because I'd have told you right off, girl, please. Let's see how long he gonna love bomb you. 9 times out of 10, they cannot. They absolutely cannot go past 90 days. They run out of shit to say. Or they keep repeating the same thing other than that. Start asking them, what's my favorite song? What's my favorite color? What's my favorite? When is my birthday? What's my what? Stop telling me everything about you. What you know about me? How you love bombing me and you don't know nothing about me, really? You really don't know nothing about me. But I could tell y'all some stories. I had a cat. Oh, baby, he thought he was the best thing since sliced cheese. And to a lot of people, he was. He knew nothing about me. But you asked him to this day, he swear to God that he was in love with me. How? You know nothing about me. We talked on the phone a lot. Yeah, we did. We talked a lot. But when did we date? Huh? These men don't have to date y'all no more. You understand me? They don't have to date y'all. You gotta date me. I don't care how old I am. I need to know that you really know me. You say you like me. You love bombing me. I need for you to love bomb me the right way, baby. I need to get something out of these love bombers other than you pretty, you fine, you funny, you God-fearing, you are encouraging. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Reflections of Kimberly. Yeah. Yeah. Date me, baby. Because once we got on some of these dates, I may find that I don't like you. Hello. So I hope if we don't get nothing out of this trial, that we recognize these Romeo pimps. Absolutely, if I wanted to. Next time you ask a stupid question like that, Troy, put it on a super chat or super sticker. Make it worth my while, baby. And that's another thing. Ladies, do they not make birth control pills and shit no more? And what about these XXX workers? Hey, Sharice, what about them? Why are they okay with having X with these women without protection? Do they think that they the only ones? I mean, so whatever, what's that, Jonathan, the Punisher, Shy and Paul and Joe, so not only is she getting these infections, hell, y'all sick too. Does he pay y'all extra for not putting on protection? I mean, wait. And even if, can I pump my brake right there? I'm gonna get back in there, y'all. I promise. But I kept hearing him say, Diddy. No, I cannot stand stupid stuff. I can't stand that. That's gonna get up under my nose. What the you mean? Did he know? He knew if she didn't want to do it, that he was gonna have a hissy fit, and he gonna back up off of it a little way and fake the funk and lie. Well, okay, can we just watch movies? Can we just kiss? He knew to say that type of shit to get her off the shit that she was on, right? So did he know he was manipulating? Yeah. Did he know he was being deceitful? Yeah. Because if he didn't, he would not have paused and redirected, detoured, to still come back to the same spot, right? That's a detour. If I'm saying, oh, I really don't want to, oh, I just want to spend time with you. We know the wine. We know the wine. We know when our men ain't spending enough time and they want to, do this, that, and the other. Well, come on, let's just go to the football game with me. Okay, I go, but I just really want to spend time with you. And they say, okay, so we can do this, that, and the other. Okay, so they detouring. They detouring from the whining that they don't want to hear, right? What's the difference? Still to wind up at the football game saying, go Cowboys, yay! Right? What's the difference? So yeah, he knew. He knew when he had to start saying, let me see them pretty teeth that I bought. How you living? You don't feel like, well, how you living? You have to hear that shit. That's why I don't Baby, I will fend for myself until I have to get help before I let it help me to the point that they gonna dangle something on my head. You get the middle, boo. You get the middle. Diddy is the only victim in this situation. I really hope he gets released from jail. Okay. Okay. Hey, Street Flames. Hey, where you been? Good to see you. Have you been talking about this Diddiness? Yeah. I ain't finna, Troy want attention. He thirsty. Reflections from Kimberly. I ain't stroking no egos today. Not right now. Now, later I may do whatever I do, but right now I'm not stroking that ego because I know he wants it. See, that's how you can tell a thirsty man. Thirsty man. Thirsty men are worse to me than a thirsty female. That's the type of man that would compete with a woman. Child, please. Oh, y'all, listen, my bad. My regular tea, my tea sippers in here. My tea sippers in here with they mod sticks, baby. Y'all been having me. Reflections of Kimberly say I'm back. Welcome to, y'all say hey to Reflections of Kimberly. She here. She said I'll remove that. She said, homie, don't play that. Yeah, come on, y'all. I'm going to get back in there, but today I heard was crazy. Y'all need to stop pacifying. Everybody who say that some of this is Diddy mama fault, y'all acting just like his mama. Pacifying him. Get your nip. Pull out his mouth. Did y'all get that break? Get your nip. Pull out his mouth. Get it out. Ain't pacifying no pedophiles. None. Hey, Travis, hey. Yeah, so we gonna stop that. It's there. Did the prosecution rest today? Did they rest? We gonna find out today. Breastfeeding over here, yeah. He got his urine in somebody's mouth. What you breastfeeding him for? He need to be under the jail. Weinstein, his retrial on his appeal. Yeah. What happened to him? Guilty. And y'all sitting up here acting all surprised on these RICO and racketeering charges and XXX trafficking charges. This ain't the first one. Now y'all got Ira talking about let me free. I be free. Let me free. Scared. Somebody coming for that ass. They hunt that ass down. Say what? Hunt that ass down. Hunt him down. Now he's scared. What you scared for? Some of these Hollywood cats. Troy, baby, my girl here. I ain't stopping thick. I ain't stopping thick. Hey, my tea sippers. Yeah, they have rank, baby. They got rank. And that's just what that is. I sorry. See, I got mine back. I got mine back. You know, some of these folk don't have their bags. Like, you know, they don't have their bags. Weinstein, what happened to him, y'all? He was found guilty again on his appeal retrial. One of them, he got not guilty. They waiting on another. They may have gave that verdict already, but his ass. And that's just in one state. And y'all are forgetting there are charges coming for itty bitty, Tissy Row, Pity in other states. And some of these male celebrities that got sued, they ain't went nowhere. They just not a part of this. And so I'm going to have to post. I was listening to Tisa today. Do y'all know what XXX trafficking by fraud is? See, again, some of y'all don't even know what that is. Y'all screaming somebody guilty. Y'all don't even know what that is. Do you know what trafficking by fraud, XXX trafficking by fraud is? Some of y'all need to know, because some of y'all may be doing it right now and don't know that y'all are pending federal charges. Agreeable sex. At the minute that you are forcing somebody to do it with other people and money is exchanged, that's trafficking. Y'all need to know these laws. They finna hem y'all asses up. Thinking y'all can meet these females and males online and do something strange for a piece of change. All y'all who love that little old phrase, y'all setting yourself up. So I'm going to go back in there. It was just getting up under my skin to hear him keep saying, did he know? Hell yeah, he 55. He know exactly what he doing. He knew when he was grooming her. The other one. This, what y'all say? What y'all players say? This ain't my first rodeo. That ain't his first rodeo. What the hell you mean? Did he know? Yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing. Exactly what he was doing. And don't get mad at me, because AunTeaFee know the tea and the facts. Don't get mad at me. Up and hit the like button. Don't come in here talking that thick if you don't hit the like button. Double tap my nose. Try to do a Diddy and tap the eye. Do whatever you want to on your screen, but get my likes up. That's why she bammed their head on that marble top. Hi, Silver Moon. She said, oh, baby. I wonder they saying, did she know what she was doing? Did she know what she was doing when she banged her head on that marble top? Hey, everybody. Come on, let's get back to it. I should have brought this in here. Stop being lazy. But child, please. Y'all finna rattle my nerves with this Diddy stuff. Come on, let's get back to it. Ain't nothing but to do it. Weinstein. Yeah. R. Kelly trying to get out of jail. Asking for a pardon. I hope everybody start asking at the same time. And Trump said, y'all think I'm a fool. I ain't doing nothing. Yeah, while he causing riots in L.A. Okay, I got people in here. I'm going to start over. Y'all ready?
Questioning her about her relationship with Jane testified about.
I heard she messed it up for him today.
Things on its head here in this case. And what happened on that night was pretty graphic. So Jane's third day on the witness stand was under cross-examination. Diddy's attorneys questioning her about her relationship with Sean Diddy Combs. And clearly what they wanted to present to the jury was how much Jane was in love with him. And there were a lot of text messages.
Oh, Lord, they killing me with love.
And really, I'm going to go through some of them. We can't do all of them. But we really want to hear from you guys in the comments here, because this is a very interesting day. Because the things that Jane says, these text messages, and how she is characterizing them, really comes down to one thing. Was she forced to be in this relationship? Did Diddy know that he was forcing her? Obviously, the government is presenting this as Diddy coercing her to stay in this relationship, to continue doing these freak-offs, even though she has said she didn't want to. But how much of that did she share with Diddy? Did he know that he was coercing her?
All she had to do was tell him one time, I don't want to do it.
Sex trafficking charge is going to come down to. So one of the text messages after a hotel night that they had together, remember, hotel nights is what Jane refers to it. Cassie called them freak-offs, but these are their parties with male escorts. So after this one, this was in August of 2022, she wrote to him, "That was so much fun, baby. My love for you is unconditional and for life." She's referring to that particular freak-off that they had. And she also talks about Paul. Paul is the guy that yesterday she said that their nickname for him was Shaq. She was Kobe and Diddy was Jordan, and they were the trifecta. So she is addressing the fact that she really enjoyed their encounters with Paul. But while Diddy's defense is trying to make it sound like,
no, Shaq should have been that big, musty, sweaty one.
She asked for Paul. she wanted to clarify this. She said, if I had to do what I had to do, at least there was somebody who had a warm energy about them. So, yes, she is saying positive things and had positive feelings about Paul, but she's saying, I'm only doing this because this is, at least I have an option here. She would prefer to not have the hotel nights at all, but she felt like these were the circumstances of the terms and conditions, as she put it yesterday, of this relationship. She said, if I see him, Diddy, there is a request for a hotel night. So I'm just adapting to my circumstances. I'm adapting to my environment. So yes, there were moments when I suggest or organize these things under the pressures of my lover. Yes. I think that's key thing there. She says, under the pressures of
Under
my
the
lover.
pressure.
So she certainly feels pressured to do this. Does Diddy know that he's pressuring her?
Yes.
That is the big question here. And then there's another moment she talks
If she
about,
says, I don't want
you can
to.
tell why Diddy's attorneys bring this up, because it does not paint a picture of this is someone forced into this. She admits on the stand that she had matching shorts, that she bought matching shorts for them all to wear during one of their hotel nights. If you're going out shopping for matching outfits for this sexual encounter you're having, how much are you against it here? Now, look, she made it clear on several occasions during her testimony, I'm only doing what I had to. And what this is really going to come down to is, did Diddy know? She said that after the apartment that she is currently living in, which Diddy, we now know, is still paying for, but the night after the first night she was there, she texted him, the fact that you are the reason for my child's joy is a feeling inside me that I can't explain. I love you so much as my friend, my lover, my boyfriend, even though you don't like that word. The boyfriend word is what she's referring to. So she is gushing about him in these messages and making it, and in her communication to him saying, I love you. She's not saying, I hate this situation. She's saying, I love you, and I think of you as my boyfriend, even though you don't think of it that way. Now, as for the hotel nights, she said this, she said, I resent him for knowing how much I loved him and how I couldn't say no to him. She's saying that she didn't say no to him. Yes, he wanted these things, and in her mind, she has said, this is not something I wanted. And even she did testify that there were occasions where she told him she didn't want to continue doing these things. And he would always say, look, you just try. You got to try it. And then she would take ecstasy by her admission and then get through it, is the way she describes it. The question is to be, what did Diddy know? And what's difficult for the jury here is Diddy's not going to take the stand. And I would be shocked. Look, it's still possible that his side will call him to testify, but that would be absolutely shocking. So they're not going to know exactly how Diddy, what was his belief of what was going on here. Did he understand that how much Jane didn't want to do these things? That's what it all comes down to. So I'm really curious what people out there are thinking about this. You've heard what Jane has said, how she's described their relationship and having to do the hotel night encounters. Was she forced into this? And more importantly, does Diddy know that he's forcing her into it? That's what it's going to come down to. Now, New Year's, two more things about the hotel nights. She said the longest one, I don't even know how, there's got to be a lot of drugs involved, clearly. She said the longest hotel night encounter they had was New Year's from 2022 to 2023. 3 days that this went on with three different men involved. And she said that was the longest one they ever had. Now, interestingly, after they have this marathon freak off, She noticed on social media that Diddy was vacationing sometime after New Year's, was vacationing with a woman named Gina. We've heard Cassie refer to Gina. This is one of Diddy's other girlfriends, and clearly someone that he was on social media with. So he's more open with her, open to the public that he is with her, which was definitely a sticking point for Jane. And she admits this on the stand, and this is what leads to this Valentine's night in 2022. She says that after seeing on social media that Diddy is on vacation with Gina, she basically dangled a hotel night as bait to get him back in. She says that she played the hotel night card on him for the first time in 2022, and kind of sweetened the pot, saying, referring to having a Valentine's Day party with him, and that they actually did this after it worked. She said she dangles this in front of him, and he ends up leaving his vacation with Gina early and comes back, and Jane says she decorates the hotel room. There are rose petals everywhere. It sounds very romantic, except that this time she did something she had never done before, which was to hire 2 entertainers who were there. So it's Jane, 2 male escorts, as well as Diddy, and how's that for a Valentine's Day? And she says that was the first time that she had gone that far. It clearly wasn't enough for Diddy, and she goes on to talk about that this was the issue, that she kept doing these things because she felt she needed to lure him back to her. And it's very clear, and I felt sorry for her reading these things she's saying, that she feels she has to do these things to get him, just to get any attention from him, and she clearly wants to be his girlfriend and for her to be her boyfriend. And he is a guy who, by his own admission, and early in the relationship told her, I'm polyamorous. I'm going to have multiple girlfriends. What really seems to be bothering Jane is the fact that she was not, that she was sort of the secret. He wasn't taking her on public vacations, wasn't posting her on social media, and so she feels she's got to do everything she can to get his attention. The question is going to be for the jury, does that mean she was forced into this relationship? Does that mean that Diddy was sex trafficking her in these hotel nights? That's what it comes down to. So, winners and losers today. Look, she was Diddy's witness all day, or they had her under cross-examination, and really the picture they painted was that she was someone who wanted to be in this relationship. So I got to say at this point, for today, the defense won, unless the jury just hates him so much at this point, and that is certainly possible. If the jury hates him so much at this point, and they actually feel sorry for Jane, even though she's not saying to him, I hate this, you are forcing me into it. The jury could still...
Okay, so let me say this. Oh, Lord, I knew he was going to make me. Let me say this. Y'all ready? Let's say somebody who is a hooker on the street. Initially, she was trapped or baited or groomed into that life. At some point, right, that's just her job. She's conditioning her mind that that's her job and this is what her man wants her to do. And hey, Smokelahoma, thunder up. Brown, it's that brown. Yeah, so at some point, she just is doing her job and routine with her job. And as far as she's concerned, that's her man. And she's going to entertain for her man. She's conditioned in her head. She still knows that she's doing it, for her imp, right? But initially, she was tricked into that lifestyle. So we not gonna act like at some point didn't say, yeah, You know, I wanted to choose which one of them, because some of the ones that he was into, I wasn't into it. So, and I knew that I had to do it because we got a what? A love contract. And until people have a full understanding of that love contract, see, that love contract may be for 2 years. I don't know, because now one of them have touched bases on this quote unquote love contract. Because the answers that some of these people wanting may be in that love contract. Meaning she felt obligated. Meaning that whatever he initially said that love contract was has changed. And now she feels obligated. That's still manipulation and coercion. And let's just move that to the side, right? You are still engaging in paid XXX transactions. That's still trafficking. When you traveling to do it, whether she agreed to it or not, the force was already done, right? The force was in the beginning. Let's just say the force was in the middle. I mean, in the beginning and sometimes in the middle, when she didn't want to and she was forced to, although she had already signed this contract agreement that she'll do whatever it is that he wanted her to do, not knowing at that time that he was sick and mental in the head. Okay? Now, y'all gonna make AunTeaFee talk real streetwise to you. Diddy is losing the battle. Absolutely. And AunTeaFee right now wants to know what's in the contract. What was the contract? And I'm going to simplify it for you. Doo-doo Diddy. We ain't even got to the doo-doo part. We ain't made it to the shit part. Right? Your contract 9 times out of 10 is for her to be at your beck and call and do whatever you needed done for your gratification. And she was thinking when she signed it, it was to please you. Your little tissy raw. See. Be your little freakazoid. See. She had no earthly idea in the beginning that it was these other clowns and cowboys and Indians behind the scenes, little XXX shit. But let's keep listening. Yeah. What is the 6? And hit the poll, y'all. Not that poll. Vote on the poll. Don't dance on AunTeaFee poll. I just need for y'all to vote. Do you know what XXX fraud is? What's the question? Do you know what that means? Because a lot of y'all don't. And again, I'll say, I do understand why a lot of my brothers and sisters get locked up for breaking the law, because they don't know the law, and what they think is the law to what they think is the law or ain't the law is the law, and they find out the hard way. Okay. Life in prison. Yeah, y'all, do you know what is the question? Heck, I done forgot the question, how I put it. Where is the question? What is sex trafficking by fraud? When you have to trick somebody into doing it, that's fraud. When you promise them, like he did Lil Rod, a Grammy, for you to go on in there with Cuba Gooding, allegedly. And he went in there and he didn't get his Grammy. That's fraud. When he promised that girl a record, she got 10 she had to do 10 albums, and hell, he didn't really like it. So then he turned it into a worker, a XXX worker. That's fraud. Let her out her contract. Fire. Don't turn her into no XXX worker for your pleasure. That ain't what she signed up for. Contract changed. That wasn't in the contract, that you can change the contract at any time. Change the terms. That wasn't in our deal. Now I feel obligated. Now you dangling shit on my head. Now you got videos and stuff that you recorded, some that I agreed upon, but some I didn't. And the ones that you threatened to put out there are the worst ones. So them the ones I didn't know was recorded. That's coercion, fraud, blackmail. Oh, he out of here, y'all. Come on. What is this? Hold on. Let's see what they saying.
Romance, but the end goal was just to get her to have sex with these paid sex workers. Okay?
That's coercion.
The sex trafficking trial of Sean Combs said
How it go from me freaking on you to freaking on all these people out of a book?
Abuse, threats, and unwanted sex she says she endured while dating Combs. She testified specifically about not wanting to participate in what she called hotel nights. She said she told Combs, quote, "I don't want to play this role in your life anymore or feel obligated to perform these nights with you in fear of losing the roof over my head." That was in reference to Combs'
The contract.
Jane also discussed her reaction to learning about Cassie Ventura's...
She found out the rules changed. So now she just has to comply. So yeah, now she is just being a worker.
And criminal defense attorney. The specificity of some of the language that this witness Jane used and how it compares directly with the charges of coercion and whatnot was really notable.
Without question, John, good morning. And that's why and how prosecutors could bring this together. And remember, she is critical with regard to these sex trafficking allegations, right? Because we're talking about whether or not this was consensual or whether it was engaged in with fraud, coercion, or any other type of compulsion. And so that's critical. Now,
compulsion.
With respect to the actual things that she says, I think she certainly furthers that narrative. You talk about the specificity. You talk about not only that, but her saying, listen, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be the side chick in my own relationship. I feel like I'm reliving my sexual drama as it relates to the Cassie Ventura lawsuit, the star witness who, of course, testified initially. And this goes to the broader issue, not only, John, of proving the charges, but to the issue of pattern, the issue of physical abuse, the issue of psychological abuse, the issue from the prosecution's perspective of whether this was his M.O., and that's critical.
It is definitely his M.O.
To do in terms of cross-examination.
How do they do that job today?
I think a number of things. Number one, look to the issue of focusing on the fact of coercion.
Definitely
You
his
were in a
MO.
relationship with him, is that right? That relationship was multiple years. In fact, you participated in this voluntarily, key word. And in addition to the voluntary participation, you helped structure and organize this. And by the way, you were jealous when you learned about his escapades with other women. Isn't that true? So, right, there's a lot of pushback the prosecutors could use in their redirect examination, but look, as it relates to the cross-examination, for them to attack defense attorneys with respect to consenting. Defense attorneys will also indicate that you were out of the relationship, but you came back to the relationship. So you may have objected, but is that objection enough to put him on notice that it wasn't going to be you engaging in this? And when you had an opportunity to leave, did you take that? And so these are the narratives: coercion or voluntary participation.
I'm curious to see how aggressive they get today, because I think this would...
From Kansas City to the capital city, Washburn University will surprise you.
See you, counselor. Always. Brand new hour of CNN News Central starts right now.
The fifth week of court resumes next hour in the federal racketeering and sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Over the weekend, his lawyers renewed their request for a mistrial, accusing the prosecution now of presenting false evidence. Back on the stand today, a former girlfriend of Combs who is testifying under the pseudonym Jane. She testified last week that Combs threatened to cut her off financially if she stopped participating in these sexual encounters, those elaborate sexual encounters that he would put together with other men. CNN's Kara Scannell is live outside of court. What's expected today? Tell us about this ask for a mistrial yet again, and then also what it means today.
Good morning, Kay. Yeah, over the weekend, Sean Diddy Combs' legal team asked for a mistrial in this case. This is the second time they've asked for one so far, as now we're entering week 5 of this trial. And this relates to the testimony by both Cassie Ventura and her friend, Brianna Bongolan, who testified that Bongolan was held over a balcony by Combs. And what Combs' lawyers are saying is that the prosecution committed misconduct because they allowed testimony in that they say should not have come in because they allege that the prosecution knew it was false. Ventura testified that she saw Bongolan be dangled over the balcony, and then Bongolan testified that she was certain it occurred on a specific date in September of 2016, and that is what the prosecution had elicited from their testimony. What Combs' lawyers are saying is that they knew that Combs was actually in New York on these dates that Bongolan testified this happened, and that Ventura hadn't seen it, and they looked at some evidence, a text message, a screenshot of a message that contradicted this. And of course, Combs' team used that on cross-examination, but now they're saying that prosecution knew it was false and they never should have gotten that before the jury, and so they're asking for a mistrial. They wrote in the filing, the government has long known that Mr. Combs was on the East Coast in late September, and specifically at around the time of this alleged incident. This, of course, is the second time they asked for a mistrial. The government has not yet responded. It's likely this will come up this morning when court resumes before the jury is brought in. But then after, if the judge does not grant the mistrial, which is unlikely because they were allowed to cross-examine the witness on this, then they will resume the testimony of the former girlfriend of Combs, who's testifying under the pseudonym Jane. She's expected to be on the stand for most of this week. Today, the prosecution will continue questioning her. They say that Combs had sex trafficked her by fraud, and they say that he lured her through the promise of romance, but the end goal was just to get her to have sex with these paid sex workers. Kate?
All right, this morning, the sex trafficking trial of Sean Combs set to resume with defense cross-examination of his ex-girlfriend, who has been identified as Jane. She testified this week about alleged abuse, threats, and unwanted sex she says she endured while dating Combs. She testified specifically about not wanting to participate in what she called hotel nights. She said she told Combs, quote, I don't want to play this role in your life anymore or feel obligated to perform these nights with you in fear of losing the roof over my head. That was in reference to Combs paying her rent. Jane also discussed her reaction to learning about Cassie Ventura's 2023 lawsuit and told jurors it felt like she was reading her own sexual trauma. With us now, Joey Jackson, CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney. The specificity of some of the language that this witness Jane used and how it compares directly with the charges of coercion and whatnot was really notable.
Without question, John, good morning. And that's why and how prosecutors could bring this together. And remember, she is critical with regard to these sex trafficking allegations, right? Because we're talking about whether or not this was consensual or whether it was engaged in with fraud, coercion, or any other type of compulsion. And so that's critical. Now, with respect to the actual things that she says, I think she certainly furthers that narrative. You talk about the specificity. You talk about not only that, but her saying, listen, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be the side chick in my own relationship. I feel like I'm reliving my sexual drama as it relates to the Cassie Ventura lawsuit, the star witness who, of course, testified initially. And this goes to the broader issue, not only, John, of proving the charges, but to the issue of pattern, the issue of physical abuse, the issue of psychological abuse, the issue from the prosecution's perspective of whether this was his MO, and that's critical. So the defense has a job to do in terms of cross-examination.
How do they do that job today?
I think a number of things. Number one, look to the issue of focusing on the fact of coercion. You were in a relationship with him, is that right? That relationship was multiple years. In fact, you participated in this voluntarily, key word. And in addition to the voluntary participation, you helped structure and organize this. And by the way, you were jealous when you learned about his escapades with other women. Isn't that true? So, right, there's a lot of pushback the prosecutors could use in their redirect examination, but look, as it relates to the cross-examination, for them to attack defense attorneys with respect to consenting. Defense attorneys will also indicate that you were at the relationship, but you came back to the relationship. So you may have objected, but is that objection enough to put him on notice that it wasn't going to be you engaging in this? And when you had an opportunity to leave, did you take that? And so these are the narratives: coercion or voluntary participation.
I'm curious to see how aggressive they get today, because I think this witness may have landed some blows more than they were expecting yesterday. Joey Jackson, great to see you, counselor.
Always.
Brand new hour of CNN News Central starts right now.
The fifth week of court resumes next hour in the federal racketeering and sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Over the weekend, his lawyers renewed their request for a mistrial, accusing the prosecution now of presenting false evidence. Back on the stand today, a former girlfriend of Combs, who is testifying under the pseudonym Jane. She testified last week that Combs threatened to cut her off financially if she stopped participating in the sexual encounters, those elaborate sexual encounters that he would put together with other men. CNN's Kara Scannell is live outside of court. What's expected today? Tell us about this ask for a mistrial yet again, and then also what it means today.
Good morning, Kay. Yeah, over the weekend, Sean Diddy Combs' legal team asked for a mistrial in this case. This is the second time they've asked for one.
It's really the
now
third
we're
time.
Week 5 of this trial, and this relates to the testimony by both Cassie Ventura and her friend Rihanna Bongolan, who testified that Bongolan was held over a balcony by Combs. And what Combs' lawyers are saying is that the prosecution committed misconduct because they allowed testimony in that they say should not have come in, because they allege that the prosecution knew it was false. Ventura testified that she saw Bongolan be dangled over the balcony, and then Bongolan testified that she was certain it occurred on a specific date in September of 2016, and that is what the prosecution had elicited from their testimony. What Combs' lawyers are saying is that they knew that Combs was actually in New York on these dates that Bongolan testified this happened, and that Ventura hadn't seen it, and they looked at some evidence, a text message, a screenshot of a message that contradicted this. And of course, Combs' teams used that on cross-examination, but now they're saying that prosecution knew it was false and they never should have gotten that before the jury, and so they're asking for a mistrial. They wrote in a filing, the government has long known that Mr. Combs was on the East Coast in late September, and specifically at around the time of this alleged incident. This, of course, is the second time they asked for a mistrial. The government has not yet responded. It's likely this will come up this morning when court resumes before the jury is brought in. But then after, if the judge does not grant the mistrial, which is unlikely because they were allowed to cross-examine the witness on this, then they will resume the testimony of the former girlfriend of Combs, who's testifying under the pseudonym Jane. She's expected to be on the stand for most of this week. Today, the prosecution will continue questioning her.
I think she rests today.
Combs had sex trafficked her by fraud, and that say that he lured her through the promise of romance, but the end goal was just to get her to have sex with these paid sex workers. Kate?
All right, this morning, the sex trafficking trial of Sean Combs set to resume with defense cross-examination of his ex-girlfriend, who has been identified as Jane. She testified this week about alleged abuse, threats, and unwanted sex she says she endured while dating Combs. She testified specifically about not wanting to participate in what she called hotel nights. She said she told Combs, quote, "I don't want to play this role in your life anymore or feel obligated to perform these nights with you in fear of losing the roof over my head." That was in reference to Combs paying her rent. Jane also discussed her reaction to learning about Cassie Ventura's 2023 lawsuit and told jurors it felt like she was reading her own sexual trauma. With us now, Joey Jackson, CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney.
What part of fraud do you not understand?
That this witness Jane used in how
what is fraud?
Compares directly with the charges of coercion and whatnot was really notable.
There's not been a no, they just denied a mistrial. Barbara, stop. Stop. What are you talking about? They've already denied the mistrial. What are you talking about? Oh. What twist of fate? What twist of fate? What twist of fate? They've already talked about that mistrial with her testimony. He already told them that the dates were wrong. with Bonner. She said the 27th. It happened. He dangled her. It was just on the 30th. So, yesterday. So what are you talking about? Let me go to where they told them that they was thrown out, baby, because what you talking about? No, you see. Oh my God. You need to tell your husband to let you support my platform. Cause you be behind and you be missing it. And then you come in here with stuff that be so wrong. And you know I'm not gonna let you mislead the tea sippers. You need to ask him to let you add me to your allowance, baby, so you can support my platform. Cause wherever you be at, you be misinformed. And then you come in here asking questions. So you need to talk to Poppy. And you say, Poppy, I need to be able to send AunTeaFee a little something. Oh, being late over here in England don't have nothing to do with it. But let me find it for you. Now, don't ask for nothing else special, Miss Barbara, because I'm going to need for you to support the platform. Now, Pressure, what you talking about? You confused on the fraud. Different strokes for different folks. Fraud is fraud. What is... Catherine. What is XXX trafficking by fraud? What does fraud mean? See, this is why you over here talking about, oh no, they ain't got no case. You don't even know what that is. And he has done it. It's been proven. But y'all still on that bandwagon, but okay. So that's why you gotta look up these terms. And this is why people don't think that they have proved their case. Yes, they have. Even at some point, she started saying that, okay, I was looking for someone to help myself.
At Sweet Bee Organics,
because she felt obligated
to nurture your body and soul. Unlike conventional products filled with synthetic additives and questionable ingredients, our products are crafted with organic, whole
Barbara,
that work in harmony with your
Barbara,
body.
don't ask no questions without you supporting the platform.
Say like, the devil doesn't hang around with angels. I can't say enough negative things about this man. I'm not sure he's human. I like in the same way you look at like a psychopath that like Dahmer who kills people and eats them. That's how I am now looking at Sean Combs. There's something deeply wrong with him.
Where's the closed caption TV camera proof? You tripping? There's no closed caption TV other than one incident that has happened, and that's the one that he denied ever doing. So that means that there will be no case period on nobody if there's no closed caption TV. If I said somebody hung me off the roof, hell, I'm telling you, that ain't hearsay. That's what happened. I can't.
Depravity to this man that we did not know about. And honestly, I'm going to forgive even some of these massive Hollywood celebrities who went to his so-called...
There ain't no closed caption TV
so
about a lot of stuff that done
really,
happen.
I'm sure even they knew, but his intimate team around him knew, and they do not get forgiven. Unfortunately for the prosecution, they are also amongst the...
Ain't no closed caption TV that he paying or
rent. There's a thing in the law where you say like, the devil doesn't hang around with angels. And so when
he admitted, right?
Devil, who can put him behind
yeah, it's closed. There ain't no closed caption TV about a lot of stuff that happened.
Either. So he's had.
But there are text messages.
All these women come into his life and get abused.
But I ain't gonna do this with y'all.
Get farmed out.
Especially not Barbara.
Escorts like they're barnyard animals. Put out for stud. It is disgusting what he did to these women, the women in his life. He doesn't understand what love is.
That's a fact.
It's weird because all the people around him are so enamored with him and they come back to him over and over. And to this day, they talk about how complicated it was. I don't think that's his loving side that they're remembering and like the good times. It's the fact that they're star effers. Not all of them,
Is
but
a fraud.
many of them.
By law, see,
that
by
they're
law pressure, they're not saying
Intoxicated by his
foolish.
money and his
They are
celebrity.
saying by
These people
law.
come from nothing.
You may
And
look
were
at it as
very rank
foolish, but there's a
targets
legal
for his
term
power
for
and his
it.
money,
It's
his ability to pay their rent and so on.
when you
So they were easy targets
manipulate,
and he knew it.
when you
He was dazzling
what
the
do
security
men do?
force at the LA Intercontinental Hotel. These guys are kind of, law enforcement adjacent. Even they were like,
What is it called when
we'll
guys
take the
do
money
it?
to hide that tape of you beating her, fork it over. Even those guys could be bought.
Okay, pressure. Okay, I know how to say it now, so you know what I mean. Cause I gotta talk to you streetwise. So when fellas say, man, when y'all be in y'all man cave and y'all talking about da 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 da, some freak out and got, and you say you tricked her out her cookie. When you trick somebody out their cookie. And y'all thinking y'all being cool or y'all got some real good player skills, he good. He good with oh man, he good with his man. He can talk you out of anything. He can talk you out of anything. Lying. Yeah. That's fraud. Legally. When you talking, when you promise or you say I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you that, come on over here, do this for me, and I'm gonna do this, that, and the other. I'm gonna pay this, I'm gonna pay that.
All right, so listen up.
I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you that. Knowing good and dang well you don't have no intentions on doing none of that. That's fraud. That's fraud. Now, Johnny Blaze, you came up in here asking questions and you didn't hit the like button. My like didn't go up when you popped in here. All y'all coming in here hitting the like button, especially if you asking me questions. And especially if you being smart and sarcastic and trying to troll. You need to hit my Cash App or a super chat, super sticker. Well, lying is fraud. Lying and being deceptive to get what you want, the old bait and switch, the car salesman. When you got a car salesman who lie and sell you a good running car that's a lemon, is that not fraud? Did they not lie? Did he not trick you? When they get their income taxes, and they go and buy them these cars that they know good and dang well they ain't gonna be able to afford to keep. And they think they getting a good deal. They don't raise prices up on the cost. It's doing tax season. Hell, they committing fraud and committing fraud to the first degree right there. And they say it's a good running car, ain't nothing wrong with it. You have it a week, everything every light in the world pops on. And then they say, well, ma'am, you bought that as is. I bought a good running car as is. It said wasn't nothing wrong with it. That's fraud. That's bait and switch. You lured me into this agreement, and what you sold me on was a lie. A lie is fraud. This is why I'm trying to explain to my tea sippers that a lot of y'all commit these crimes and y'all don't know what they are. Only fools. No, baby. But I'm not going to do that with you, my pressure. That's what fraud. And this is why a lot of people, this is why jail is overcrowded. Because people think that street shit is legal shit. And it ain't. It's fraud. Oh, shit, it ain't my fault she believed it. Ask Diddy that. Them girls believe that shit he was selling them. Now he facing life in prison because they believed it. Hell, they so sick with it, they still believe some of that shit he fed their asses. He have a gift of persuasion. That's a gift. Too many people fall for it. And if they would let that monkey ass out right now with the little old Tootsie Roll pop, somebody else would fall for it. He has a gift of persuasion. He lied to that girl when she saw that video and said Cassie hit him first. He lied. Yeah, but every teacher, when a teacher teach don't mean that every student get it. Teachers teach all the time and people fail, Pressure. Teachers teach every day and still have failing students. Everybody comprehension skills are not the same. But let's keep going. I'm trying to get to, I'm trying to hear what these people trying to say. Because his ass is going to prison. That's why Weinstein, he got found guilty again.
He did not look at the law as a threat. He looked at the law as something he could buy and overcome. And
right there.
Time and time again, he was proven right.
But
and
not this time.
He most harmed kept forgiving him and going back to him for a job or rent or to be in a relationship with him, even though, again, they were being treated like barnyard animals. And these women knew it. They did not enjoy it. They did not want it to.
Yeah, he told them about other women.
I'm aware.
But he didn't tell them in the beginning that pleasing him means sleeping with men.
Keep reading, people. Keep reading. Great. Let's do her text messages. Talk to me when you get to the ones that say, I love the freak offs when we both want them. And how about, you know, if you like evidence, because I like evidence too, how about her running out of the freak off for her life and getting beaten to a pulp and dragged back into the freak off, because that's been the testimony. How about that? Can we agree that maybe the consent that was there initially
changed? Right.
Now we've spent this week listening to Jane, who followed on the heels of Mia, both pseudonyms. Mia was an employee. Jane was another girlfriend. Mia.
Jane is another plaything.
It's just like serial sexual abuse, serial physical abuse through all of these witnesses. Mia testified about him coming into her room in his home where she was required to keep the door unlocked. All the male employees, the security guards could have locks on their doors, but she couldn't, and that he would come in and abuse her. She testified she didn't want it. Can we know? I don't know. I don't know. He was such an, I don't know what I want to say. I don't want to say aphrodisiac because that's something that actually turns you on, but he was such a god in the eyes of all these staffers. Can we really believe she didn't want him when he walked in her rooms? I don't know.
Well,
but I've heard enough from
D-Rock said, oh, I've seen this before.
To know that
be careful.
This guy was happy to force these women into a life of these so-called freak-offs or debauchery or hotel nights or whatever you want to call it, and to beat them and to understand that they didn't want to be there, but to hold the threat of violence, the threat of exposure, the threat of their careers, the threat of rent over their heads to try to force them into it. That I think the government's got him. I think they have got him. I think they've got him on every count. Some people are thinking they don't have him on the RICO count, where you have to prove he's sort of a mob boss overseeing multiple crimes. You know, each individual, you only need 2 underlying crimes for RICO. They've got him. Just the video from the Intercontinental alone is kidnapping and battery. And now you've had testimony from the guy who took his bribe. The guy, the security officer there, who took his $100,000.
They have proved it over and over again.
Diddy, if you want me to destroy the tape, you're going to have to take it up with my boss, or you're going to have to get a subpoena to get control of that tape. And instead, Diddy said, you know, how about 100,000? And that guy's boss said, sure. That guy's boss said, here, give me 50. Loser, absolute cretin. Took
Hey,
50
Drew.
grand. And then the guy who testified, he'd been given immunity, took half of the remaining 50 and gave the other half to another guard who'd been on duty. The only one who didn't take the bribe was the first guy who was the first witness in this case, who testified that not only did he not take the money, and he'd been shown $100,000 in cash by Diddy's security guard that was in a bag. He said no, but he took out his cell phone
You
and
right,
videotaped
Ashley.
the security guard tape showing the beating before he left. It was a Friday for the weekend. He said he wanted to show it to his wife, and I'm sure the guy knew there was a very good chance this thing would be disappeared by the time he got back on Monday, and it was. He's the one who gave it, we believe, to CNN. And the reason that we've seen it, and the reason the prosecution opened its case with it, that video. It's like the only man of honor who wouldn't take the money and videotaped the videotape. Person after person has taken the stand and talked about watching Diddy beat these various girlfriends. I mean, relentlessly beat. There's no amount of beat that's okay, but just like the inhumanity of how he beat them, splitting Cassie's lip, throwing a frying pan at her allegedly. We saw what he did to her on tape. Each woman reporting how she had to go down. She went down to try to avoid, protect her internal organs and prevent too much injury, and how he would kick them in the stomach while down. The thing about Jane, I do want to get into what happened with Jane, because it was just stunning and heartbreaking and disgusting, and tracks what Cassie Ventura told us perfectly. What he did to Cassie Ventura from the day he got together with her back in 2000, well, it was earlier than 2008, but straight through to 2018. She got together with him, I think, around 06. But from the beginning, this is Cassie, around 06 to 2018, he was making her do these freak-offs with male escorts in hotel rooms. And as soon as that was over, he was doing it with others. It's like, Cassie now sees, all the women see. You were part of an assembly line of women he used like a barnyard animal. Again, that's no comment on the women. That's a comment on how he valued them. That's how he saw them. Jane comes out, and she took over basically as Combs' girlfriend, I think shortly after he and Cassie broke up, and she was his on-again, off-again girlfriend straight through to when he got arrested in 2024. And this is the saddest story. I gotta tell you, spend time with your children. You don't have to tell them everything they do is wonderful. Every 2 marks on an art paper is
Hi,
a
Stephen.
Picasso. But you do have to build up your child's sense of self and self-confidence and understanding that they belong in this world to a family, ideally, with family dinners and time invested by a parent. And if, God forbid, the child loses a father figure, either from the beginning or some way along the way, make sure they have a strong male role model, so they don't need to be affirmed by random men who can't fucking stand them or respect them, like Sean Diddy Combs. I just feel like there's a couple stories here. There's a story about the depravity of this man. I don't know how that happened. Had to be more than wealth and fame, because a lot of people get wealthy and famous and don't do this. But it's also the story of these women and how sad they were, how unfilled they were, how unsated as humans they were on a confidence and brain level, that they would time and time again allow him to force them into these freak-offs, and then of course go back to him over and over in the beatings. It's a tale that's related to domestic violence. It is domestic violence, but it's so hard for women who find themselves in abusive relationships. And if you can understand why a woman allows herself to get beaten more than once, you can understand why a woman allows herself to be forced back into these so-called freak-offs more than once. It's all part of a pattern of abuse. If this had been once or twice and you had a text message saying, I want it, or like in Jane's case, she said, or I think it was either Jane or Mia, forgive me, I blend them sometimes, saying in the beginning, it was Jane, saying, I wanted it in the beginning because it seemed taboo, then he might have a defense that there was consent, I wasn't forcing it, and I had no reason to believe that there was no consent. It's so far beyond that, people. It's just so far beyond that. Father's Day is coming up. Let's celebrate all the great fathers out there who have had such a positive influence on our kids and our nation. You want to celebrate a special dad? How about brightening his day by giving him a gift of Riverbend Ranch steaks?
Oh,
Yes.
girl, how?
Anybody would love to receive this. Riverbend Ranch has been recognized by the team at Certified Angus Beef
Hold on,
as having some
y'all.
of the
She got a
finest
long
quality
commercial.
Black Angus beef in America. The difference in quality and flavor.
Are y'all
is not by accident.
hit my like
For the
button?
last 35 years, the Riverbend Ranch has been raising Black Angus cattle with a focus on flavor and
Oh my
tenderness.
goodness.
American beef.
Hold on.
May be disturbing. Combs' ex-girlfriend, who goes by the pseudonym Jane, returned to the stand for her second day of cross-examination. The defense showing Jane several messages of hers appearing to initiate sexual conversation. One message said, "What are you doing, baby? Horny for me." Jane also testified that she would buy matching shorts for Combs and the escorts to wear during hotel nights, as well as erection pills. And when asked about her birthday, Jane telling jurors that she was made to have sex with 3 escorts, testifying, quote, "I'm given my gift, I'm taking a pill, and awaiting."
You don't think what?
Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. If convicted, he faces the possibility of life in prison. And coming up, we'll get into the rap rivalries that have come into focus throughout this trial. Let's get right to the federal courthouse, though, in Manhattan, where this trial is taking place. ABC News Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Kotursky is there. And Aaron, court actually started a little later than usual today. What did we learn?
It did, and that was to accommodate the judge. But Eva, I think today really put into focus the tension that the defense is trying to show between coercion and consent. Because the defense brought Jane back to some of her testimony on direct examination when she said she felt used by Sean Combs or manipulated by Sean Combs, or when she felt
Used and manipulated. There you go.
And the jury showed her text messages after some of those episodes where she talked about how much she loved Sean Combs and loved the sexual chemistry between them, and other messages where she was arranging for some of the male escorts that she previously felt like she couldn't say no to. There was Jane being an active participant in some of the hotel nights, as she called them. And that tension, I think, lasted throughout the day's cross-examination, which was at times, Eva, a bit disjointed. Instead of long sequences of text messages the way Jane has been made to read on prior days, Tenny Garagos, the defense attorney, jumped around a bit, and it had the effect of failing to establish maybe a consistent narrative.
Jane pushed back at some point a bit about the defense's questioning again today. What was she being asked about? Any questions that seemed to surprise her?
Yesterday was about luxury handbags. Today was about high-end restaurants. And the defense had showed some restaurants that Jane suggested Combs take her to for her birthday. And she said this was because he had her holed up in a hotel in Miami, the Nobu Hotel in Miami Beach. Very nice. But it had a restaurant, and she was complaining that Combs never really took her out. And she suggested, what about Poppy's Steakhouse? What about Carbone? And Tenny Garagos asked her, Poppy's Steakhouse, a very nice high-end restaurant, isn't it? And Jane looked at her and said, I wouldn't know.
You mentioned this. Much
so
of
he
the day
never
was spent
took her.
reading these text exchanges.
Oh, wow.
Just talk us through some more of what was in those texts.
Many of them expressed her love for Sean Combs, expressed, these really intense feelings for Sean Combs, the sexual energy that she felt, sometimes talking about hotel nights with male escorts that they particularly enjoyed together. And there were other messages where she actually relented and said she didn't want to have a hotel night for whatever reason. And in a few of the messages, the jury saw Sean Combs obliged, and the defense even pointed out this stretch of about 2 months in their relationship in the middle of 2023 when Jane testified they were together but did not have a hotel night with male escorts.
The defense at one point played a video for the jury today. What did that show?
Yes, Catherine, double tap your screen light on your phone.
When Jane was feeling
the face of your phone.
Relationship, and Sean Combs ended up making her feel better. Jane took a video with her phone that the jury could see. The rest of us could only hear it, and it was a bunch of like kissy face sounds from Sean Combs trying to comfort her and saying that they have to lift each other up, perhaps trying to show Combs in a kinder, gentler light than prosecutors have portrayed him as a sex trafficker and someone who led a criminal enterprise.
Aaron Kotursky for us there at the federal courthouse. Thank you, Aaron. Let's dig deeper into Jane's testimony. ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer joins me now. I'm curious, what stood out to you today?
So as Aaron pointed out, we saw a lot more text messages. In fact, I think the bedrock of the cross-examination from Tenny Garagos to Jane is just going over these text messages. But what stood out to me is some of the order of these text messages and what Tenny Garagos was trying to point out. Specifically about one situation where Jane had said that there was this hotel night on her birthday. After leaving the hotel night on her birthday, she said something to the effect of, just wanted to say I love and appreciated every detail you put together for my birthday. A few days or weeks later, she sees Sean Combs with another woman, and that's when another text message comes out, and she becomes very frustrated with what happened on her birthday, very angry, saying that she was used. Tenny Garagos tried to make that seem as if you're not frustrated and feeling used about the hotel night on your birthday, you're feeling frustrated and used because you saw another woman with Sean Combs after the fact, trying to plant the seeds of jealousy in this case.
At the start of the day, there was an issue with a juror. What was that? What happened today?
So the AUSA, Comey, came out and said that they have information that one of the jurors, a black male from the Bronx, lacked candor. And that's not necessarily lying or omitting information, but it's giving just enough information to kind of get by while omitting some very specific facts. And the judge says we're going to address that later. The defense pushed back and said this was a thinly veiled attack of trying to take out another black juror on the jury. And if the person is taken out, don't worry, it's not going to be a mistrial. More likely than not, you just take one of the alternates, they replace that individual, and you continue on with the case.
Aaron mentioned this heated exchange that happened on the stand today with Jane and the defense, talking about her birthday plans in these fancy restaurants. Talk us through what happened here.
Yeah, so Nobu, at least from my understanding, is still a very fancy restaurant. But don't forget, Nobu is also attached to a hotel. And I think the idea here, the argument from the government and Jane, is that Sean Combs kept her inside of his hotel. Didn't want her to go out or to be seen because, according to the government, she is being trafficked. But the defense instead kind of posited this other idea by asking about Poppy Steak and Carbone and saying that you wanted to go to these other places. You want to be shown off. You want to travel outside of the home and be shown with Sean Combs. And we have seen pictures of them outside of hotels as well. And the pushback here was that you were jealous that you weren't going to other places. This wasn't about hotel nights, but this is about your jealousy and your frustration. Of course, we saw it play out of, Poppy Steak is at a good restaurant in Miami, and Jane saying, I wouldn't know.
We heard about the handbags yesterday. Today, the defense attorney pointed out that Jane had been given this nice necklace for her birthday. What are they trying to do here?
So the idea is to try to show that she is kind of adorned with these great luxury items, whether it be jewelry or bags or going out to restaurants. But the issue seems to come up, as according to the defense is arguing, when she becomes jealous. Don't forget, the opening statement here for the defense is that this is about jealousy and lovers who are with Sean Combs consensually and then get mad after the fact, after hearing them he's with other women in this polyamorous relationship. But she did come and say this: I was given a gift, I take a pill, and I'm waiting an entertainer. One thing that Tenny Garagos pointed out is that she took a pill, then messaged one of the entertainers for 24 hours afterwards. And so the idea being here that that pill would have affected you during that hotel night. This is just something that you do with Sean Combs, taking pills.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about text messages because There was a lot of text messages shown in court today. Walk us through some of these exchanges.
So this is one that I mentioned earlier that really stood out to me. I just wanted to say I loved and appreciated every detail you put together for my birthday. Don't forget, this birthday is where Jane also says that she had a hotel night with 3 different men for hours on end. And so the defense is saying, okay, you had this experience. Why would you put this here? And for Jane, she was saying she's only talking specifically to the time that she had with Sean, not talking about the time she had with the other men, making that difference, but not articulating that here. And the defense is making the argument of, well, how do we know that? What you're saying shows one thing, and what you're saying on the stand says another thing. I can guarantee that the defense has made the argument of, you can't trust Jane because what she says one day changes on the next. Why would you trust what she says on the stand here today? And the text message, I think that's what the defense is trying to argue, that she's portraying one image, and then on the stand, she's portraying another.
Brian Buckmeyer, thank you so much for being with us. We have heard allegations of domestic violence repeatedly. Say Sean Combs admits there was domestic violence in some. He wasn't involved in any sex trafficking. Now, Combs has denied all charges. But with all the talk of domestic violence, we wanted to bring in an expert, Beverly Gooden. And Beverly is not involved in this case, but she advocates against domestic violence and has even written a book on why people sometimes stay in abusive relationships. Beverly, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
We've heard a lot about Jane's testimony over the last several days, and at one point she said she's still in love with Sean Combs. When you hear that, what do you think of that?
You know, people think abusive relationships are all violence all the time, but that's not how it works. She was still in love with him because it wasn't all bad. There were a lot of moments that felt real and felt beautiful. They laughed, they made memories, they built a life together. And so when things get bad, victims often stay hoping they can get back to that version of them. And so survivors might miss the non-violent version of that person, but not the violent version of that person. And that back and forth can create something called a trauma bond. It's when the person that's hurting you is also the one that you desire, the person who's comforting you. And that makes it really hard to break away.
Now, I want to just step back a moment here. Domestic violence is something that can happen to both men and women. For people watching, how would you define an abusive relationship?
Yeah, an abusive relationship is one that is about power and control. One partner is trying to maintain control over another partner, and they can do that via coercion, they can do that via physical violence, emotional violence, and psychological violence. But the
psychological violence
is what makes a relationship abusive.
Hey.
And in this trial, we've seen,
Hey,
and
Debbie
we're talking about it today,
Hudson.
we've
Hey,
seen
Willie
messages that appear
Spencer.
to show Jane, who's one of the alleged victims, initiating sex with Combs and with others. And
Okay, let me run that back real quick. So,
And it's person, but not the violent version of that person. And that back and forth can create something called a trauma bond. It's when the person that's hurting you is also the one that you desire, the person who's comforting you. And that makes it really hard to break away.
Now, I want to just step back a moment here. Domestic violence is something that can happen to both men and women. For people watching, how would you define an abusive relationship?
Yeah, an abusive relationship is one that is about power and control. One partner is trying to maintain control over another partner, and they can do that via coercion, they can do that via physical violence, emotional violence, and psychological violence. But the pattern of control is what makes a relationship abusive.
But she's not on trial, Pressure.
We've seen, and we were talking about it today, we've seen messages
She's not
that
on
appear
trial.
to show Jane, who's one of the alleged victims, initiating sex with Combs and with others. And there are people who are wondering, how can you be a victim of an event that you initiated?
Yeah, the thing about it is that abuse is not happening at all times. If you are in love with someone, you want to be physical with them most of the time. And so she has those desires just like everyone else. Victims aren't supernatural, superhuman people. They have desires, they have feelings, they have love, they have attraction. And so if she is someone who's initiating a sexual relationship with someone else, that doesn't make it okay for her to be abused, because kink is not abuse. Kink involves enthusiastic consent from both parties. If there is not that enthusiastic consent, even once the sex has started, then you've gone into a different territory.
And I'm curious, what is it like for women to testify in public about cases like this?
Yeah, testifying in court is so brave, but it can feel like reliving that trauma all over again. You're telling your story, some of the worst moments of your life, out loud in front of strangers, and often while the person who hurt you is staring you down, as we've seen him do in court. It's terrifying and it's exposing. And I think of the fact that the courtroom isn't built for healing. It's not a healing place. The defense will question everything: why you went back, why you stayed, why you didn't tell someone. Even if you know your own truth, it can feel like you're the one on trial. And so that pressure, I think, to be perfectly calm, perfectly consistent,
Making a man think
believable,
you
is
like
really overwhelming, and it
something
can re-traumatize
that
even
you
the strongest
don't,
survivor.
Beverly Gooden, thank you so much for joining us today.
so you
So
can
ahead,
get
how did
your
the
rent
defense do
paid.
today? Should the prosecution be concerned? Our legal team breaks it down
Making
for
a
you
man
next.
think you like something. What did somebody make Diddy think they like? Can't no. What do you mean making somebody think they like something? What do you mean? You trying too hard, pressure. What do you mean? Making a man think they like something. Can't nobody make you think you
Welcome
like
back.
it.
Thanks for streaming with us. Diddy's ex-girlfriend Jane facing a second day of cross-examination today by the defense. To break down the legal strategies we saw today, Brian Buckmeyer is back with us
Explain,
as the defense.
pressure.
Bernardo Villolona analyzing the prosecution. The defense, we got to talk about kind of how the day went. They had Jane reading a lot of text messages. I mean, hours and hours of reading these text messages. Brian, what was the point of all this?
So I think stylistically, maybe not the greatest way to do it, but I think yes, I know. I'm trying to be polite and nice here. But I think the ultimate goal here is to show that in close in time to these events, this is what she was thinking, this is what she was portraying, this is what Sean Combs heard. And now she's going to be on the stand, and we saw her on direct examination as well as cross-examination, trying to give color as to the explanation as, well, this is why I said it, or I'm hiding this idea.
They made him think they like. Where they ain't never said that. You making that up, pressure.
Do I not believe her? And I think a good portion of them will believe her.
They made him think they like. He had already fooled them into it, changed it up. They wanted to have sex with him, not all them other people.
So it's explained. It's explained in the sense that you already heard from Dr. Hughes, where she gave testimony, provided testimony as to a couple could be lovey-dovey. It's not to say that they're never on good terms, that the person doesn't love that person. However, it's that same love and that lovey-dovey that keeps that person coming back even after they've been abused a few times or multiple times. So also you have to remember the prosecution already got the text messages that they needed in terms of the ones that corroborate of her, the sex trafficking and engaging in these sexual acts and how she felt, but more importantly, how she told Combs multiple times that she no longer wanted to participate in these hotel nights. So now you have the tale of two cities, right? You have the defense with the hours and hours and hours and hours of text messages, and you have the text messages from the prosecution, but the prosecution was able to color those text messages with giving more insight as to what the relationship really was.
At one point today, Brian, Jane testified there was this 2-month stretch where there was no hotel nights. Why does that matter?
I think the defense is trying to make an argument, and I know Dr. Hughes and Bernard are going to push back on this, that there were times where if she said she didn't want to, he said you don't have to. And there are multiple times where an entertainer or a sex worker would show up and she says, I'm not feeling it. I'm not attracted to this person. They don't smell good. And Sean Combs, even though I think that the key word here was agitated, that he'd be agitated by it, he still provided the contraceptive. He still said you don't have to sleep with this person. He said, okay, we don't have to do hotel nights for this time. And I think the argument here in the defense is, he's not coercing you. He's not forcing you.
But you had that one instance where she said, oh, I'm not attracted to this specific entertainer. But then he had another one. It was like on rotation. Hold up, I got another one for you.
Who was the next one? The next one was Paul. The next one was Cabral. The people that she was close with, that she was attracted
to.
So
hold up, stop. If she said no, I don't want to. She didn't say bring me another one. He brought another one. He's saying you. In other words, you saying, no, I don't like him. I don't want to do this. No, he funky. He stinky. He's sweaty. He ugly. He looked like a mud puppy. She goes in there and throws up. And then he said, good, you got it out. I got another one. And she like, oh, God, dang. So that meant her excuse, her reasoning for whatever wasn't good enough. I didn't want to do it. And he was like, oh, shit, you're not going to fuck up my night. I got another one. That's, no, baby. That is, no.
He understands his lady doesn't like one thing, even though he's trying to explore this. And
Second day of cross-examination.
I said I don't want to do it.
The legal strategies we saw today. Brian Buckmeyer is back with us as the
Hi,
defense.
Cornell.
Bernardo Violona analyzing the prosecution. The defense, we got to talk about kind of how the day went. They had Jane reading a lot of text messages. I mean, hours and hours of reading these text messages. Brian, what was the point of all this?
So I think stylistically, maybe not the greatest way to do it, but I think yes, I know. I'm trying to be polite and nice here. But I think the ultimate goal here is to show that in close in time to these events, this is what she was thinking, this is what she was portraying, this is what Sean Combs heard. And now she's going to be on the stand, and we saw her on direct examination as well as cross-examination, trying to give color as to the explanation as, well, this is why I said it, or I'm hiding this idea, or I'm hiding this thought. I really felt this, even though I said that. And I think ultimately it's going to come up to the jury to say, okay, do I believe her? Do I not believe her? And I think a good portion of them will believe her, but I also think a good portion of them will not. And for defense, that's at least a hung jury, and that's winning in some sense.
Bernardo, some of the text, she was affectionate towards Combs, she's positive towards him. Does that hurt the prosecution?
Well, that retrial didn't work for Harvey Weinstein, did it? They got that ass again.
A couple can be lovey-dovey. It's not to say that they're never on good terms, that the person doesn't love that person. However, it's that same love and that lovey-dovey that keeps that person coming back even after they've been abused a few times or multiple times. So also, you have to remember the prosecution already got the text messages that they needed in terms of the ones that corroborate of her.
Facts. They already got the evidence. Y'all tripping. They don't already prove their case. They're not trying to prove their whole case with Jane, though. They don't already prove those charges. These are just extra. So I don't know what y'all talking about.
And hours and hours and hours of text
Jane was not brought here to prove the whole case.
But the prosecution was able to color those text messages with giving more insight as to what the relationship really was.
At one point today, Brian, Jane testified there was this 2-month stretch where there was no hotel nights. Why does that matter?
I think the defense is trying to make an argument, and I know Dr. Hughes and Bernard are going to push back on this, that there were times where if she said she didn't want to, he said you don't have to. And there are multiple times where an entertainer or a sex worker would show up and she says, I'm not feeling it. I'm not attracted to this person. They don't smell good. And Sean Combs, even though I think that the key word here was agitated, that he'd be agitated by it, he still provided the contraceptive. He still said you don't have to sleep with this person. He said, okay, we don't have to do hotel nights for this time. And I think the argument here in the defense is, he's not coercing you. He's not forcing you.
But you had that one instance where she said, oh, I'm not attracted to this specific entertainer. But then he had another one. It was like on rotation. Hold up, I got another one for you.
But who was the next one? The next one was Paul. The next one was Cabral. The people that she was close with, that she was attracted to it. And so I think, I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm really presenting the defense's argument of, he understands his lady doesn't like one thing, even though he's trying to explore this in his sexuality. And he said, okay, if the issue is the person, I will find the person.
Me saying I don't want to do it is no. And because somebody, he act like he don't know what no means, that's why his ass is going to prison. That's why he's not at home right now.
Escort or that entertainer, and Sean Combs was like, okay, I'll get you another one. While you're fighting the sex trafficking, by you bringing that testimony in, you're doing yourself in on the third count of the transportation to engage in prostitution, because there's no arguing or dispute that these entertainers were getting paid in exchange for sex.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the defense's argument of Sean Combs.
Yeah, she said she wanted it at some point, and she also said she didn't. And at any point she said she didn't, Tom,
as a foregone conclusion in terms of that charge,
that means no.
Up to 10 years. You eat
anything other than that at that time, and he still forced her to have it when she said no, to change your mind at any time.
Yes, that's exactly what I did.
Period. And if you don't know that, your ass has probably been to prison or probably on your way. If you don't know that, yeah, you going to prison too.
So yes. So Jane stated that when she would
I mean, at any time.
the lingerie store,
Oh, it ain't muddy. No means no at that time. And if she decide 2 days later it's yes, then it's yes. And if she change her mind again and say no, it's no. It ain't muddy. It's her words, her rights to her body. And if you don't know that, your ass is going to prison if you ain't already there.
These new shorts that will attract her more and make time go by faster to get to the conclusion.
She ain't been exposed. She exposed him.
Like, what kind of shorts?
Like, give us more details. But I think for the defense, they're trying to say, okay, we understand if you're in this relationship. And
every female, y'all said, been exposed. Everybody been exposed except Diddy. Tom, are you a Tom, Dick, and Harry that's been? Yeah, you're a Diddy lover. Never mind. Never mind. You Tom, Dick, and Harry. Never mind. You Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Understand her, man. Like, why are you having?
No wonder. You are ass eater. You like Tootsie Rolls. That's your favorite candy. Never mind.
She had not been introduced to that prior to engaging in this type of act.
Never mind.
I think the argument is, at least for the defense, is that you don't try to understand the sexual proclivities of your trafficker.
You Tom, Dick, and Harry.
And if the closer that you can make this relationship seem like a
you understand like Diddy understand. No, never mind.
Trying to understand what my partner likes.
Never mind. Oh, never mind.
A lot of us had to Google some things recently.
I had to catch myself, y'all.
Thank you guys.
Never mind.
For being here. Coming up, rap rivalries have also had a role both inside and outside the courtroom. We'll get into all of that.
Never mind.
At G-Fiber, you get uploads as fast as downloads. So sending off that big work file should go as fast as grabbing tickets to the game.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. The Sean Diddy Combs trial has been filled with some big celebrity names: 50 Cent, Suge Knight, Kid Cudi.
What you running for, Precious?
Some long-standing rivalries. To dig deeper into the root of those rivalries, we have ABC News contributor and Sirius XM radio host Mike Hughes. Thanks, Mike, for being with us. Okay, let's start with rapper 50 Cent. He's been mentioned multiple times in court, and let's be real, 50 has been all over social media.
In court, so they brought him up in court.
To President Trump to stop a pardon if it came to that. What happened between these two?
Yeah, 50 Cent has emerged as one of social media's biggest antagonizers across all topics, subject matters, and people.
Bonnie, we passed the age. This is not about the age.
Looking at Sean Combs of who he is today in this moment, but we have to go back to the early 2000s.
His name came up in court, y'all.
Sean Combs, then really known as Puff Daddy or Diddy, was on top of the world. He was one of the biggest megastars out there, and he was the easy draw for people to attack.
That means 50 gonna wear him out.
Acknowledged that he helped to ghostwrite one of Puff's lyrics that he had on an album. Then they began to just trade.
He said he didn't want to be brought up in this case.
For 50 Cent, even going up into leading up to the both were competitors with their vodka. With at the time, Diddy had Ciroc, while 50 Cent had his vodka line, Effin' Vodka. And so there was rivalry with the vodka and the spirits. There was rivalry within the music. But then also, too, there seemed to be some jockeying over former Bad Boy artist Mace. Mace publicly wanted out of his contract with Bad Boy. At the time, 50 Cent wanted to buy him out of his contract, which added more to the antagonistic nature of those two individuals.
So a lot there. Okay, we have to also talk about Suge Knight. His name has been mentioned in this trial at least 50 times so far. Combs' former assistant David James testified.
Yeah, a lot of that's. I agree, Pressure. That's why I said things done changed. They better tighten their shit up.
How did these two become rivals?
Things done changed.
To that part now into the
that's why Boosie was saying
right,
what
when you started to see the East Coast and West
I
Coast
agree.
rivalry
I agree. We
really
agree.
began to reach its peak. And from the West Coast, Suge Knight was the pinnacle of, in the face of West Coast rap, right? He had Death Row Records, where he had an incredible roster, including the face of West Coast rap, which was Tupac Shakur. On the East Coast, Diddy had arisen to become, in his record label, Bad Boy, the face of the East Coast in terms of record label and business moguls, opposite Suge Knight. But Diddy had Big Notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls, signed to his label, and he was the face of East Coast rap.
Ooh.
So that's when you began to see two music titans, Suge Knight and Diddy, really having this rivalry from a business perspective, and that's when you saw
Now
the
she
rivalry
lying.
between the two rappers of Tupac
Lord.
and Biggie, also too going at
Everybody been in court saying she been truthful, the most truthful, even when she making her own self look crazy. Now you bring your little ass in here talking about she lying.
Quite some
Okay.
time now. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Eva.
And thank you for joining us. We'll be back with new episodes every day of the trial. The show streams right here on ABC News Live, Disney Plus, and Hulu weekdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific. For even more on the Diddy trial, make sure to follow the podcast.
Pressure Hell, you frauded her too in the beginning.
Hosted by our very own Brian Buckmeyer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. I'm Eva Pilgrim in New York. Have a good rest of the day.
You frauded her too. Pressure. And he wanted sex with men, and he was too afraid to do it. But what she did wasn't against the law. What he did was, how about that? That's why she not on trial for her life. He is. How about that? So y'all can say what y'all want to say. She is not on the stand fighting for her life. How about that?
Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I will bring you
Oh, okay.
Welcome to Chronicles Speaks.
Yeah, he thought he was going to get out on bond too, didn't he? How did that work out for him?
I don't have any time for anything.
They didn't even want 500 mil. Bonnie.
Let's first recap
Yeah.
day number 20.
Yeah,
Day
you
number
an ass
20, the
eater
defense
too.
cross-examined
You
Hard,
dummy.
Trying to pay her as a willing participant to enjoy the attention, money, and hotel
Absolutely.
nights.
That's
Now,
what
Jane
he
insisted
thought.
that
He thought he was
was
going to bond out. How that work out for him? That July the 4th. How that work out for him? He thought he was going to bond out.
Yes, like ecstasy to fulfill Diddy's fantasies.
Y'all better get up out that man butthole. Yeah.
For her home and gave her $10,000 a month as part
I
of
don't
their
have no
so-called
favorite
love
people.
contract.
You on there.
spent
You on them
money as
tapes.
leverage, threatening
Bonnie.
to stop paying rent as a type of control
The Diddy
tactic.
Bonnie.
Vince dug into her messages with Diddy, reading explicit
He
texts.
thought he was
doing
gonna
voice
bail
notes,
out too,
and
didn't he?
highlighted times where Jane expressed love or enjoyment, but Jane pushed back.
Y'all thought he
saying
was
she
gonna
trying to
bond
make him
out.
feel love, while internally she was
Bonnie
suffering
the
and
Diddy
breaking her
eater.
own boundaries. She said some hotel nights ended early when she asked, but only after she.
He taking you with him. You already up in his ass. He might as well take you with him, Bond.
Shame to explore when his lawyer asked her
Shit.
to define what
You
a cuck
you the
was.
best
And
one
honestly,
for him.
the way Diddy
You
said
already
so
up
excited to
into
replace
that ass.
Man, we were all like,
Are you homosexual?
Yeah.
What? I'm homosexual. How you gonna ask me a question like that? Ain't nobody bending me over.
now we also learned more
No,
about how
you
the
been them
relationship
over.
started polyamorous, but turned
Don't go
painful
with
when
him.
Diddy went public with Young Miami.
Don't tell him if
Jane said her
if he
relationship
go,
with him
I go.
kept secret and that he treated the other
Bonnie
women
goes
better.
with
In
him.
court, Jane broke down how
He
she
got
learned
denied
was
4
struggling
times,
with
and these
PREMEDIATED
retarded people in here
and
talking
urging him
about
to
he
go
coming
to
home.
rehab.
Okay.
She said she called him her partner, her light, and she wanted to believe that it was true love. The defense is trying very hard to try to discredit Jane. We'll see how this will end because her cross-examination will be completed today, according to the defense. So let's go ahead and jump into day number 21.
And now
Before we
Ira
do,
Kelly talking
make
about
sure
he
you
don't want to
subscribe
be
to
in
this
there
channel
when
and hit the bell for
Diddy come in
notifications so
there.
you don't miss out on any news
He
regarding
don't
this
want
case
he don't
and
want to
so
have a
much more. So let's
concert.
get back into it. So Judge Subramanian begins
He
the
don't
day
want to
by
be
saying
roommates
anything
with
before
Diddy.
the
It's gonna
jury
be
comes
tough
in,
on his
does the
ass.
defense want to respond to the government on the juror issue? So it was the prosecution that wanted to get rid of juror number 6, and the defense was like, no, we're good with that person. Let's go ahead and keep him in.
She don't pay no. Don't say that, Pressure. Do not say that, because they gonna say that she is a gold. Hold on. How dare you say that? How dare you say that, Pressure? That your wife does not pay any bills. She is a gold digger. She is in it for the bag. Ain't that? Any woman who husband pay all her bills and treat her like a queen is a gold digger. You said she ain't messing with no broke. How dare you say you pay all her bills? As if no woman should have a man in their life to pay all their bills. Like, that is against the law. Only men who think like that are people who want to be up in Diddy's rear end. You want to be his booty buddy. I'm happy for her, Pressure. I know you have integrity. I know you be on here just trolling with me. Because you know, when I start hitting integrity with you, if I ask her to pay a water bill, she probably say,
No. Well, then we'll take 10 minutes. Okay, so while they're taking the 10 minutes,
let me back up and listen. You got me, you and that booty bonnet got me tripping.
About the jury, any news regarding this case, and so much more. Now let's get back into it. So Judge Subramanian begins the day by saying anything before the jury comes in. Does the defense want to respond to the government on the juror issue? So it was the prosecution that wanted to get rid of juror number 6, and the defense was like, no, we're good with that person. Let's go ahead and keep him in. Combs' attorney, Alexandra Shapiro, says this is a thinly veiled attempt to exclude a black juror. Prosecution said, we looked at the record and found a lack of candor, which is the quality of being open and honest in expression or frankness. The judge says, we'll deal with it before the weekend. Are the jurors ready? No. Well, then we'll take 10 minutes. Okay, so while they're taking the 10 minutes waiting for the jurors, Combs is reading something, talking to Agnifilo on one side. Shapiro 1 seat away about the juror the U.S. wants to remove. Still waiting for the jury. The prosecution is stating
so she
that
black,
this
y'all.
regarding juror number 6 is sealed, so it's nothing that we can see. We don't know exactly what's going on, but they want this person out of there. Break time is over. All rise. Miss Garagos, you may proceed, judge says. Garagos says, I want to admit this exhibit under seal. Can you read that, Jane? Messages from December 2021.
You right, human
Between
nature.
yourself and Cabral about a hotel night. Yes. You had a pretty intense night? Yes. He says to you, you were talking to me dirty. I love it. Yes, I'm being friendly here. After your long hotel night, you saw him with Gina? Yes.
Damn it, Gina. Now I'm mad.
Now, speaking about...
All right, this feels almost illegal to know, but our windows were so old and just desperately needed to be replaced. So I called a few contractors, but they all quoted me a hefty $10,000 or more for new windows, and I almost lost it. That's when my friend, who's a realtor, stopped me and said, if you're a homeowner and your windows are older than 5 years, you might qualify for this new 2025
Whoa, can y'all hear me?
replacement service. At first, it sounded too good to
Can
be
y'all
true,
still
but it
hear?
turns out he uses the same service for all his clients, and a lot of people regret not knowing about it sooner because the savings are serious, you guys. I applied, and in less than 2 minutes, I was approved for energy-efficient windows. And there are only 3 requirements. You've got to be a U.S. resident. You have to live in an eligible zip code. Your windows need to show visible signs of aging. You can click the button below to see if you qualify for new windows for your home. It takes less than 2 minutes, but you have to hurry and act now because requests are coming in fast and some contractors are already getting booked for 2025. So click the link below to see if you qualify.
Hotel night, you saw him with Gina? Yes.
Damn it, Gina. Now I'm mad.
Now, speaking about Gina, Jane read some March 2022
Okay, thank you,
messages
Ronnie.
between her and Sean Combs that occurred after a hotel night. Combs had recently made her delete a post of food she had posted
She
that
probably
indicated
already
that they were
split the
together,
check
and
with
then
other
she saw that
jurors.
Gina made a
Please
post
remember,
wearing a necklace that matched a
I
bracelet
told
Combs
you
had
the
gifted her
jurors
previously.
going home.
In the message, Jane told Combs to make
Oh, I
Gina
always
delete
felt like
her
they
post
should have been
and accused him of
suppressed.
giving her
But you see,
anxiety. To see these things deeply
but
hurt
you
me,
see,
Jane
they
testified. Jane
they got their
testified
eye on
that
her.
this hotel
I
night
told you they was
November
gonna try to
was
get
around
rid of her,
2 years,
didn't they?
2022. She
And you
estimated
say, oh,
that the
now they
match
not
was
gonna
about
get
3
rid of
days
no
and
jury.
involved
You
3
see, they
meetings.
working on
Jane
it.
said after New Year's, she saw on social media that Combs
She
went
got
on
caught
vacation with another woman
with
named Gina.
making contact. She
Jane
got
read aloud
caught
the
running her
messages
mouth. She
she
done
sent him
got
in
busted
January
somehow.
2022,
She related to
expressing her
somebody.
frustration
She knows
about
somebody
the
that
trip
done came
after.
to a
She
job
said,
or
we had
something.
such an amazing New Year's week together. You had me feeling so taken advantage of and regretting everything. Jane testified that she considered breaking up with Combs after this. Then Cabell wrote to you that he would be in LA and he'd stay to see you if you wanted. Yes. What did you say? It's my birthday weekend and you don't show me no love? Then you asked him to send a personal video. Yes. That night you saw the Italian entertainer, who we'll call the entertainer. Yes. And Sean had linked up with Young Miami. Yes. You wrote, if you don't get your ass out of the island, no party, right? Yes. That was the first time I pulled that card. The hotel
No,
card?
maybe
Yes.
because it was
Sean
gonna
wrote
be
you a
too
note that
long.
you said meant the world to you. You told KK you wanted to make it cute and romantic. Yes. I even
Because they knew
decorated
it
the
was
room
gonna
with
be
rose
8
petals.
weeks.
The Valentine's Day hotel night, having 2 men there, was that your idea? Jane says it was. After these nights, it was crushing to see things like, Garrigo says, like Gina posting the love bracelet on Instagram, right? Yes. Here you are planning to reach out to Sean and perhaps reach out to the Italian. I was still doing that then. He says, can you FaceTime? Yes, that's what he says. 10 days later, you had another hotel night? Maybe. Here Combs says, I'm jerking my you-know-what, thinking about how nasty you're going to be to me, right? Yes. He says, call Italian or Paul to see if they're free. But you like Paul, right? Yes. He gave you a choice and you chose? Yes. In the messages, Combs suggested a hotel night with either Paul or another entertainer. When Jane told him that she was kind of icked out by a boo-boo the other entertainer had, Combs agreed that that person was a no-no and arranged a hotel night with Paul, according to the message. Jane testified that Combs only gave her a choice between 2 entertainers, as though it wasn't an option to skip a hotel night altogether. He responds, I told Paul 11 p.m. Is that okay? And let's watch PORN first, right? Yes. He says London Hotel. What would you get? Stripper shoes, shorts, maybe whips. Why shorts? I bought matching shorts for Sean and the entertainers. I was really turned off by their shorts, so I got other shorts for them. It was not so fun to wait for them to get erect. I started to get things on the side so they could get erect. I got pills at the store, rhino pills. Garrigo says the next day he says want to do dinner at 9. Bring the freak bag just in case. Right, lingerie and the rest. But you didn't have a freak night. Let me refresh your recollection. And this exhibit is under seal. He says, I'm about to work out with Paul, and then I'll see you. You say, hair up? There was probably a FaceTime between these two, but yes. He says, did you want to hit up Italian, right? Yes, I didn't want to. Garrigos continues, Sean says, Paul is all we need. And you say, laugh out loud. What do you say? I'll go to the store unless you get a head start. What do you mean? Go to the hotel ahead of me. But then you spent several days at his home? Maybe. You really did love him, right? Yes. Do you remember seeing Sean in September 2022 and
They
not
have
having a
young
hotel
thug jury
night?
held
September
hostage
9th?
for over
I'm
a
not
year.
sure. Now do
It's
you
gonna
see
be
you
a
saw
mistrial.
him but no hotel night? This is not correct. September 4th, we took a jet to Vegas. He performed.
They got
and we had a
denied the
hotel night
mistrial.
with an entertainer. Do you remember seeing him on September 20th and not having a hotel night? I'm not sure. Let me show you this. Does it refresh your recollection? I guess I did. Did Sean pay for your birthday dinner? Yes. What was the name of the restaurant? I can't remember the name. You have a great time? I had an okay time. You right, is Nobu the only place? How about something outside of the hotel? He conveniently put me in a hotel with Nobu. I suggested Poppy Steaks. That's a nice restaurant in Miami. So I've heard. Okay, and Valentine's Day the year before, he was in a different country. You wrote, get your ass back from the island, right? Yes. Then at the Nobu Hotel, you accepted it? I would say I went along with it. You said accepted. My stuttering was trying to find the right word for the pressure I felt. You mean agitation? Yes. You said he gave you your birthday gift. A necklace? Yes. Did you take this photo? Yes. Under seal, says Garagos. Now, before we get into that, in February 2023, Jane texted Sean P. Diddy Combs asking if he could send her something for her birthday festivities. She testified that she asked for $15,000 to cover buying an outfit and dinner for her and her friends. She confirmed that Combs paid for the dinner. Jane later traveled to Miami to celebrate her birthday with Combs. She texted him asking if Nobu, a sushi restaurant inside the hotel where she was staying, was the only dinner option, and she suggested that they try something different. She testified that she was trying to get out of the hotel. I'm asking if he could please romance me outside of the hotel room, she testified. The jury is looking at photographs of the couple eating at Nobu. Now, speaking about the necklace she received, Garagos says it was a Van Cleef necklace. Yes. What is Van Cleef? A jewelry brand that is high end. In that photo, I had already taken DRU.
They can't get hung on all the charges.
Jane testified that she went along with it.
Some of them it ain't about getting hung on.
For her 2023 birthday dinner. My circumstances were my options in this relationship, Jane testified.
You tripping.
If I see him,
you wish for thinking. They can't get hung on the guns. The defaced guns. How they gonna get hung on that pressure? That's a whole charge by itself. How you gonna get hung on a defaced guns and the drugs that was found in the raid?
You took a mirror selfie?
How?
Fortunately, yes. Sean gave the entertainer a rubber, right?
He is going to prison. He's not coming home. He's not. Even if there's a hung jury on he is going to.
You invite Carol for the next day, but the ecstasy would have worn off by then, right? And these nights
that is a part of it.
At SVP Organics, we believe in the power of nature's ingredients to nurture your body and soul. Unlike conventional products filled,
all they need is two of them in the racketeering. They got drugs and guns. They got drugs and guns. They got triple X workers that has met in different states. You can't get a hung jury in that. You can't have a mistrial on those. He is going to prison.
Tell him you didn't like it until you saw him with Carisha and Turks, right? Yes, it was very hurtful after enduring what I endured.
Oh my God. So let's move Cassie. Let's move Jane. There are other charges. The bribery of the mama. The guy who sold the tape. The guns that were defaced, drugs, the triple X workers who have agreed. Those are, he got 8 charges. I'm just saying he is going to prison on something. You can best believe that. He's not coming home. Are we betting? Can we bet that Diddy is not going free? Can we bet? Pressure? Play, come on. He is not coming home. Now, he may not be in there for life, but he's going to prison. Yeah. He may not get life. He may not get the Martin and the Eddie Murphy. But his ass ain't coming home. Only freak off he's gonna have is the prison. And what's his name? Suge Knight said they got plenty baby all in there waiting on him. And Tom, Dick, and Harry can go in there with him.
Reached out to Cabral under the
John Burks, I agree.
Yes.
Okay, John.
Gave the man a rubber at the very last minute, thank God. You wrote to him, I loved and appreciate every detail you put into my birthday, right? Yes. You wrote that to Sean. You stopped talking to him? I was heartbroken. I flew to Paris for Fashion Week. You enjoyed it? Yes. Now, the jury saw messages that Jane sent to Sean Combs after her birthday celebration During the celebration, Jane said that she had
Like,
STX with 3
good
entertainers
justice,
and Combs.
he
In the
needs to be
messages,
taught.
Jane said
I
that she
agree,
loved and appreciated every detail you put in my
Rachel.
birthday. Jane testified that she was referring to the gifts
I
and
agree.
time alone with Combs. The jury revisited other
Cause
text
without it,
messages
he gonna get right out and do it again.
exchanged after Jane
He don't
learned
like for
Combs
nobody to
lied
tell
to
him
her
what
and
he
took another
cannot
woman
do.
on a birthday vacation to Turks and Caicos.
Just like
Immediately after Combs was
the
with
lady
Jane
drawing the
for her
picture,
own
she should have
birthday
kept
in
him
early
looking like a
February
damn koala bear.
2023. Jane testified she was hurt after being made to have SEX with 3 guys, and it was equally hurtful and emotional for me to see him with another woman on a beautiful vacation, whereas I'm all alone and recovering from having to sleep with 3 men
Hi,
that I
Tori.
didn't want to sleep with. Jane confirmed that after the fallout over how Combs handled his 2 girlfriends' birthdays, they broke up for several weeks. Jane said that when she pushed back on Combs, he'd say we should break up, but would be blowing her phone up a week later. Okay, and this is a text message chain between you and Sean, March of 2023. On the 2D, he wrote, "Sorry I called you a bitch. I deserve this. Love, right? Yes." He then writes, "When can you come to Turks, right? Yes." You sent him a heart emoji and wrote, "What we have is special, right? Yes." The budget for your trip was $100,000. Yes. And he spent $55,000? I don't know. You felt he didn't like you up and leaving and going to Paris, right? No, he didn't. You went to the Mandarin Oriental and watched PORNO videos with Sean, right? Yes. Sean asked you about bringing Dawn? Given the situation, I said yes. You said if you'd known that Paul would be there, you wouldn't have gone to Turks? I would not have. Did you write to Cabral from there and invite him to come there? Yes, under the encouragement of my partner. Yes, I did. You were happy Sean gave you diamonds? I thought it was sweet. You were glad to get diamonds? I just wanted Sean. You wrote, I wanted diamonds. Objection, asked to form, rephrase. Do you remember telling Paul that you let Sean go too far and it was your fault? Yes. Your Honor, says Garrigo.
She took ownership right there. She let him go too far, and it was her fault that she let him go too far. But it's still against the law that he went too far.
Jane is stroking her hair as she explains what is not in messages, that she was referring only to her time with Sean P. Diddy Combs and not the other men. A few times, defense attorney Tenny Garrigos countered by suggesting Jane didn't differentiate that in the messages with Combs, asking her once if there was an undertone. Jane has persisted that she was only referring to Combs. Now let's get into who's there for Combs today. Combs' mother, sister, and his 3 sons are in the courtroom. He asked his mother if she ate anything. She said she did. Combs greeted a few people in the courtroom when he returned from a bathroom break. Now, the jury are all following along, and they are not taking any notes as of yet today. Now, let's speak more about Mr. Combs. Now, today in court, Sean was seen holding a small orange book that sparked curiosity. Turns out it was The Magic of Believing by Claude M. Bristol. This was first published in 1948 to help
Now he in there reading books.
cope with trauma. The book explores how to unlock the power of the subconscious mind, and sources say Combs has been deep diving into self-help books since his arrest last September on the SEX trafficking and other federal charges that could land him in prison for the rest of his life. Okay, now the break is over, so let's continue
Now he
with the
reading.
trial. Judge says, "Are we all ready, except for the absence of Miss Comey?" "Yes, Your Honor. We've reached you," said prosecution. Comey enters. Judge says, "Okay, bring Jane back in." Now we're waiting for Jane. Jane enters. "Miss Garrigos," the judge says, "you may proceed." Garrigos says, "You wrote, 'All I have in my mind right now is your passionate lovemaking,' right?" "Yes." "You saw him 2 weeks later and did not have a hotel night?" "Maybe." "Let's play this voice note. I believe this is no objection." Comey says, "I don't have it on my list, but if Miss Garrigos represents I have it, no objection, I won't. Give me a minute. I'll move on. Did you ask about hotels or Airbnbs?" "Yes." And Sean asks, "How do you know there aren't cameras in Airbnbs, right?" "Yes." I wrote, "They could be covered by security. We'll just say it's our anniversary and we want to cover them to feel comfortable." Okay, and here, what did you write to Sean? "The fact that you are the reason for my child's joy is a feeling inside me I just can't explain." Jane begins to cry. Garrigo says, "Take all the time you need. I love you so much as my friend, my lover, my boyfriend, even though you don't like that word." Defense attorney Garrigos finished reading the text while Jane took a few seconds to compose herself. "Are you ready?" "Yes." Okay, and this, where are you? Hotel night. Now, Jane confirmed that she helped take care of Sean P. Diddy Combs in June 2023 after he had surgery, and they did not have any hotel nights that month. She testified that they had a hotel night in early July 2023, and defense attorney Garagos read aloud the message that Jane sent Combs the day after, which she said.
From Kansas City to the capital city, Washburn University will surprise you.
2023, and defense attorney Garagos read aloud the message that Jane sent Combs the day after, which she said how much she loved him and spending time with him. Garagos continues, and this 3152, is it a message after the hotel night saying I love living in the moment with you? It was our little party, rose, whatever we were saying. Is that a moon emoji? Jane appeared to get emotional as she dabbed her eyes with the tissue. Garagos then asked the judge if the lawyers could approach the bench. Now they go on break. Okay, now the sidebar is over. Garagos says, Jane, jumping around, DX3171, is this message a chain between you and Mr. Combs, August 9th, 2023? Yes. Mr. Combs writes, movie night off the charts. You say you agree, right? Yes. Then the All-Star night, canceled by the Hurricanes, right? Yes. Then you heard Mr. Combs on a podcast in Croatia where he said he had S3X on a yacht trip. You said he lied to you? Yes, it hurt my feelings. So defense attorney Garagos revisits a time when Jane said she flew to New York in August 2023 to see Sean Combs, which Jane testified about on direct examination. The jury saw some text between Combs and Jane where she expressed her anger over Combs' recent podcast interview. In the interview, Combs talked about having 48 hours of sex with another woman. Jane threatened not to go to New York, but after some convincing from Combs, she went under the impression they wouldn't be having another hotel night. When she was mid-air flying to New York, Combs sent her a link to an entertainer he wanted to hire once she got there. Jane sent a thumbs up to a link for the online profile for the entertainer. Jane testified that she was confirming she saw the link and said the thumbs up can also be a little bit sarcastic. Now, Jane claims that these hotel nights put Combs at peace. In October 2023, Jane and Combs were arguing over Combs spending time with one of his other girlfriends, who happens to be Gina, who Jane said brought plenty of drama into their relationship. Jane testified that Combs and Gina had a lot of public problems, causing Combs to bring negativity into his relationship with Jane. At one point, when Jane was expressing frustration over his relationship with Gina, Combs texted her, "Girl, stop. You know I don't feed into this. I need you. You're the only thing that's going to put me at peace. Please." According to messages revealed in court, defense attorney Garagos asked Jane, "You thought the hotel nights put him at peace?" Yes. Jane also agreed when Garagos asked if part of the reason why Jane agreed to the hotel nights was because she thought the encounters brought Combs peace. Okay, and you proposed Zero Bond or Casa Cipriani. Are these two private clubs in New York? Yes. But you ended up going to a lounge, right? Yes. And after you rejected the new entertainer for lack of chemistry, you called Cabral? Yes. Child, my box is tired thinking about all these hotel nights. I know hers is worn out. You said that you were high that night and you felt freer and you let Cabral do things you usually didn't? Yes. And then you wrote to Mr. Combs, "I love you so much." I did. You spoke about the sobriety party. You resented him for it, right? Yes. Now, she spoke about the sobriety party earlier in her testimony. Jane described the party saying it was 1 or 2 times where she tried not to use drugs during a hotel night with Sean Combs. Garagos asked if Jane agreed to the night. Unfortunately, yes. Garagos pointed out that Jane said unfortunately, but she agreed to the night. Yes? Yes. You regret now that you agreed to it? Is that fair? Yes, I resent him for knowing how much I loved him and how I couldn't say no to him. Garagos asked her a few more times about regret, with Jane responding each time that she resented Combs. And you regret it, right? I believe resent and regret lie in the same feelings. Jane confirmed that she felt depressed after the sobriety party with Sean Combs and tried to break up with him. She confirmed that Combs told her he too was feeling depressed. She testified that she went to his home and spent the night. The jury saw a video of the two of them from that night. and that video included both of them laughing. I was in a dark hole, and you came here to save me, and I appreciate that, Combs said at one point in the video. You did some saving on me that I didn't even know, Jane said. Jane had previously testified the following about the October 2023 sobriety party at a hotel in Beverly Hills, California. Now, she said she wanted Combs to get sober around this time, and he agreed to stop taking substances for 30 days, but wanted to have one last sobriety party first. This party was a hotel night that lasted 12 to 18 hours. She testified about it last week. She didn't take any DRUGS, but Combs took ecstasy and cocaine, she testified. You had wanted to break up with him after you saw him with Gina? Yes, there's so many times I wanted to break up with him. You were in an Equinox parking lot and you tried to break up with him, right? Yes. Let me play you audio recording. Combs' voice is playing. We were both tripping. Jane's voice. We need to pick each other up. No entertainers that night? Right. But it was after the video in Cassie's lawsuit was made public. Yes. Before that, would Mr. Combs write Cassie love letters while with you? I'm not sure. Sean Combs told his ex-girlfriend Jane that Cassie Ventura was one of his greatest loves. Attorney Tini Garagos mentioned that Combs would write Ventura love letters during Jane's time with him, but Jane said she wasn't sure about that. The court is adjourned for the day and the jury is dismissed. After Jane
Hey,
and the
Remy.
jury
Hey,
left the
804
courtroom,
all
defense
day.
attorney Garagos said she'll complete her cross-examination of Jane on Thursday morning. Now, prosecutor Comey said 2 witnesses more are expected to testify after Jane, and their testimony should take up most of Thursday.
Wait a minute. I was,
And
baby,
Jane's
I was so
relationship
busy
with
in my
Jane.
credit card
At one
statement. I
point, when
missed
Jane
that.
was expressing
Hold on.
frustration over his relationship with Gina, Combs texted her, "Girl, stop. You know I don't feed into this. I need you. You're the only thing that's going to put me at peace. Please."
Young
According to
Miami,
messages
Gina
revealed in court,
KK probably
defense attorney
testifying for
Garagos
Diddy.
asked Jane, "You thought the hotel nights put him at peace?" Yes. Jane also agreed when Garagos asked if part of the reason why Jane agreed to the hotel nights was because she thought the encounters brought Combs peace. Okay, and you proposed Zero Bond or Casa Cipriani. Are these 2 private clubs in New York? Yes. But you ended up going to a lounge, right? Yes. And after you rejected the new entertainer for lack of chemistry, you called Cabral? Yes. Child, my box is tired thinking about all these hotel nights. I know hers is worn out. You said that you were high that night and you felt freer and you let Cabral do things you usually didn't? Yes. And then you wrote to Mr. Combs, "I love you so much." I did. You spoke about the sobriety party. You resented him for it, right? Yes. Now, she spoke about the sobriety party earlier in her testimony. Jane described the party saying it was 1 or 2 times where she tried not to use DRUGS during a hotel night with Sean Combs. Garagos asked if Jane agreed to the night. Unfortunately, yes. Garagos pointed out that Jane said unfortunately, but she agreed to the night. Yes? Yes. You regret now that you agreed to it? Is that fair? Yes, I resent him for knowing how much I loved him and how I couldn't say no to him. Garagos asked her a few more times about regret, with Jane responding each time that she resented Combs. And you regret it, right? I believe resent and regret lie in the same feelings. Jane confirmed that she felt depressed after the sobriety party with Sean Combs and tried to break up with him. She confirmed that Combs told her he too was feeling depressed. She testified that she went to his home and spent the night. The jury saw a video of the 2 of them from that night, and that video included both of them laughing. "I was in a dark hole, and you came here to save me, and I appreciate that," Combs said at one point in the video. "You did some saving on me that I didn't even know," Jane said. Jane had previously testified the following about the October 2023 sobriety party at a hotel in Beverly Hills, California. Now, she said she wanted Combs to get sober around this time, and he agreed to stop taking substances for 30 days, but wanted to have one last sobriety party first. This party was a hotel night that lasted 12 to 18 hours.
Running a small family business out here isn't easy. Hey, Dad. We get a lot of help from Amazon.
This party was a hotel night that lasted 12 to 18 hours. She testified about it last week. She didn't take any DRUGS, but Combs took ecstasy and cocaine, she testified. You had wanted to break up with him after you saw him with Gina? Yes, there's so many times I wanted to break up with him. You were in an Equinox parking lot and you tried to break up with him, right? Yes. Let me play you audio recording. Combs' voice is playing. We were both tripping. Jane's voice. We need to pick each other up. No entertainers that night? Right, but it was after the video in Cassie's lawsuit was made public. Yes. Before that, would Mr. Combs write Cassie love letters while with you? I'm not sure. Sean Combs told his ex-girlfriend Jane that Cassie Ventura was one of his greatest loves. Attorney Tini Garagos mentioned that Combs would write Ventura love letters during Jane's time with him, but Jane said she wasn't sure about that. The court is adjourned for the day and the jury is dismissed. After Jane and the jury left the courtroom, defense attorney Garagos said she'll complete her cross-examination of Jane on Thursday morning. Now, prosecutor Comey said 2 witnesses more are expected to testify after Jane, and their testimony should take up most of Thursday. A summary witness will also testify. Comey said the prosecution needs to regroup and sort out travel logistics for witnesses beyond those 3. Comey also said the government is expected to cut more witnesses from its list and is now on track to rest its cases early as next Wednesday or by Friday at the latest. That was a lot, but what I need to do right now is hear from you. What do you think about everything currently going
so
on
before we go,
in the Sean P. Diddy Combs trial? What do you think about the cross-examination of Jane? Leave a comment and
what y'all think?
We'll talk about it down below. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching, but before you go, don't forget to subscribe.
Okay, let's hear, hold on. So I guess the cat is out the bag, sis.
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing
before we go to
Tisa, You are just me.
Before we go here, let me hear this one. Let me hear, I like her too.
All in fear. Cassie Ventura is sprawled on a mattress, soaked with blood, urine, and baby oil. Her body screaming from days of forced
You say he a monster.
Her face swollen from a fresh beating, a black eye blooming, and Sean Diddy Combs looms over her, phone in hand, recording as he orders an escort to urinate in her mouth. She chokes, tears streaming.
Hold
But
on.
he doesn't stop. His voice icy demands her to keep going. This isn't fiction. It's Cassie's testimony from Diddy's federal trial. This is a case spilling over with vile detail.
Let's
As I
listen.
tried to explain, this pseudonymous order.
Okay, so he back.
Anonymity of witnesses who are widely identified by.
If you can't tell somebody no, you probably. Oh my God!
What's said in court, in real time. Of course, they can. By the end of the day, they can correct it as they put X's over a word yesterday. But that doesn't really solve the problem for live reporting. And so, we're heading in to see how it all goes. This should be day 21. Jane on cross probably all day. And on Thursday, the cross will end, the redirect will happen, and Jane will fly out of town. But we're staying on this trial to the end.
In a New York courtroom, the air is thick with secrets as Jane and Sean Diddy Combs' ex-girlfriend of 3 years breaks down in tears, her voice trembling as she reads gut-wrenching texts to Diddy. You make my child so happy. I love you. The jury's eyes are locked in on her, some smirking at a steamy video of her and Diddy kissing like they're the only 2 people in the world. But then boom, the mood flips. Diddy's fierce attorney, Tini Garagos, comes in hot, exposing Jane's role in orchestrating hotel nights, freak-offs, those wild, substance-filled evenings with hired entertainers that sound like something out of a tabloid fever dream or a horror movie. Why is Jane sobbing? Why does she keep spitting the word resent like venom? And what's the bombshell about a juror on the verge of getting kicked out for shady behavior? Day 21 of the United States versus Sean Combs was short but chaotic and exploded with drama. I'm peeling back every layer of this scandal to reveal the messy love, the dark control, and courtroom purples that has everyone losing their minds. Stay glued, because this story's about to get crazier, and you're not going to believe what's coming out. Let's dive into the heart of the drama with Jane, who's been under fire on the stand for 4 days, facing a relentless barge from Diddy's attorney, Tini Garagos now. Today, she cracked. The defense flashed a text that Jane sent to Diddy that read, "You make my child so happy. I love you." As she choked out the words, tears streamed down her face, and the courtroom froze. The judge let her catch her breath, but you could feel the weight of that moment. Why was she so torn up? Jane said those texts poured out of raw love for Diddy, but they're twisted with pain. She felt cornered, pushed to do things that shattered her, like just to keep him satisfied. This wasn't just a text. It was a glimpse into a relationship drowning in passion, manipulation, and regret. And it set the stage for
Manipulation and regret. He's never getting out, Safi.
Teddy Garagos wasn't playing nice. Showed Jane wasn't some helpless victim, but a key player in Diddy's world. She zeroed in on the hotel nights, the freak-offs, those secretive evenings that Jane actually helped set up, packed with male escorts.
Never gonna
drugs,
get out,
and
never
sometimes
gonna get
multiple
out,
men.
never gonna
Garagos
get out,
pulled
never
up
gonna
texts,
get
like
out,
one from July
never gonna
2022,
get out, never
where
gonna
Diddy
get
said,
out, never gonna
Italian
get.
or Paul is free. Jane hearted the message about Paul and confirming that she'd arrange it. Garagos pressed. He gave you a choice and you chose, right? Jane nodded, yes, but added, I did it because I loved him. But things got heated when Garagos brought up a sobriety night and a 3 midnight. Jane admitted to agreeing to them, but said unfortunately, when she said yes, she didn't really want it. Her voice was dripping with regret as she read it aloud in the courtroom. Garagos jumped on it. You keep saying unfortunately, but you agreed, right? Jane snapped back. I resent him for it. Garagos didn't let up though, asking, you resent him, but do you regret it? Jane stood firm. I resent him. Resent and regret are the same to me. This tug of war laid bare the defense's game plan. Paint Jane as complicit. But Jane insisted she was trapped, torn between her love for Diddy and the pressure to please him. The courtroom got crazy when Garagos dug into texts that Jane sent Diddy while he was off with the rapper Young Miami on an island, Turks and Caicos. It was around Valentine's Day, and Jane was planning a big night. She texted, you better get your ass home off that island or no Valentine's Day. Garagos asked, you pulled the hotel night card, right? Didn't you? Jane owned it. Yes, that was the only time that she said she used it as a threat. She admitted that she went all out, setting up Valentine's Day hotel night with 2 male escorts, rose petals, the whole 9 yards. And it was all her idea, she said, but only to keep Diddy's attention. I don't know. This moment exposed a messy power dynamic. Jane wasn't just following Diddy's orders. She had some control, using these nights to pull him back in and away from other women. But it wasn't all roses. She testified that seeing Diddy flaunt other women like Young Miami or Gina Han, it gutted her. One text showed her begging Diddy to make Gina delete a social media post, flaunting a matching bracelet and necklace set, just like the one that Diddy had given her as a gift. So I guess Diddy is giving all of these different women the same gifts. She wrote, you're giving me anxiety. I'm deeply hurt. It feels deeply hurtful. Jane said she felt disrespected, forced to stay in the shadows while others got to shine in the spotlight and all over social media. Their relationship had to stay private, but these other women could be public with him. And that is something that she really wanted. Jane's birthday in February of 2023 was another sore spot. The defense showed a text where she asked Diddy to put money in her account for her birthday. He sent $15,000.
So 52% of y'all do not know what
but Jane said it was a bust.
triple X trafficking by fraud means.
A Noble Hotel in Miami where he could keep her close. She texted him, is Noble the only place? How about something outside the hotel? She suggested Poppy Steaks or one of these fancy Miami spots. But Diddy wasn't budging. Garagos pushed. You didn't have a good time at the dinner he paid for, wearing clothes he bought? Jane held her ground. I had an okay time, but I felt trapped. This exchange painted a picture of control. Jane wasn't just ungrateful, as the defense tried to imply. She felt like a bird in a gilded cage, showered with gifts, but stuck where Diddy wanted her. She even bought rhino pills and matching shorts for the male escorts, admitting that she didn't make it to the nights. That when she did it, it made the nights go faster because she would be more attracted to them and they would get more aroused, and that would make it less taxing on her body. One of the day's wildest moments was a video the defense played showing Jane and Diddy after a breakup and makeup. They're laughing, kissing, and talking about lifting each other up. Diddy says, Jane, she lifted me up, and I didn't even know I needed it. Jane then echoes, we need to pick each other up. Like, the audio was vivid and weird. The kissing sounds were so loud that it echoed all throughout the gallery. And it was just making everyone uncomfortable. Some jurors were even smiling, maybe charmed, I guess, by the softer side of their relationship. But one black male juror was reportedly fidgeting, looking tired or skeptical, which ties into the drama about a potentially biased juror that I'm going to get into later. Now, the video was a double-edged sword. It showed genuine connection, which the defense used to argue Jane was not coerced. She was willingly participating in it. She was in love with Diddy, which she has admitted to on the stand. She even says she loves Diddy to this day. I think it's pretty messy. Like, all of the things going on with her and Diddy, how recent it was, how he's still paying for her lawyer right now. He is still paying her rent right now as she testifies against him. So the defense has a lot of leeway to poke holes in her story because it could go 50-50 if she was a willing participant. Okay, so getting back to that juror. Now, I reported on this yesterday. There's major heat around juror number 6, a 41-year-old black man from the Bronx who works at a city jail.
It's a man.
Wants him gone, saying he's shown a lack of candor, meaning he's not being fully open or transparent and honest, possibly hiding some type of bias. They pointed to evidence of him laughing at odd moments or nodding at Diddy, though details are kind of murky.
Oh, they want him out of there, pressure.
To boot a black juror, blaming racism. They argued the prosecution's been shady about jury selection from the start, targeting African Americans. The judge, though, he disagreed back then, but we're going to have to wait and see how he rules over the weekend, which is what he said he'll do. Now, this isn't just courtroom gossip. It's a big deal. If juror number 6 gets replaced by one of the 6 alternates, it could shift the jury's dynamic. The prosecution insists that they're just protecting the trial's integrity. But Diddy's team, they smell foul play. It's a tense subplot that's got everyone watching. We don't know what is going to happen, but I don't know. The juror was already in. Could it be racism when he's already black? They knew that in the beginning, but I think
no, Diddy shouldn't have been shaking their head
to the jury. And if it's found that this guy was nodding back at the same time,
oh yeah,
that's going to be a problem, not just for this juror being taken out, but Diddy himself. And then there's another bombshell about Diddy's text, guys. After his homes were raided, a filter team found messages in an iPhone 11 seized from his hotel room on September 16, 2024. And on June 23rd of 2024, 3 months after the raids, guys, Diddy texted a staff member saying, "Call me back, it's important. Good news, I think." He sent a voice note saying, "I don't know how in the world, but all of a sudden, this phone just came up. We found it in the house. It's from the time when me and a woman went to a thing. There's gotta be so much stuff on the hard drive of that phone. I didn't delete nothing out of that phone." He even sent a photo of the device. Hours later, he texted again, frantic. "Have Tenny Garagos call me. I have a 911. It's important." When the staffer didn't reply, he wrote, "I can't even understand why you're not sending me my lawyer's number." Finally, the staffer sent Garagos' number, and Diddy replied with prayer hand emojis. The filter team says Diddy's claiming attorney-client privilege to block these text messages, but they argue it's nonsense. He was talking to a staffer, not his lawyer. They suspect the staffer is Christina Coram, the top assistant, his chief of staff, who went ghost after the raids, even deleted her social media. This is huge. It suggests that Diddy was scrambling to control evidence, maybe even something incriminating like deleting or hiding evidence. The prosecution wants to use it to show he's hiding something, while Diddy's team is fighting to keep it out. It's another layer of intrigue in an already chaotic and out of control trial. And I don't know how this is going to go down, but there have been a lot of questions
this
about
gonna
where
help
is Christina
appeal.
Coram, who they say is a co-conspirator.
Removing a black man from the jury. If he listen, it ain't about him just being a black man. Diddy should not have been nodding. He should not have been nodding, looking back at the jury. That's his fault that the man wasn't paying attention. Yeah, and all of that type of stuff. He has an oath. And hell, I don't care who, if he black or white. It don't matter. He needs to follow the rules of the court. I told you that they was watching them after he was doing their head shake and, you know, neck bounce and all of that type of stuff. At that point, everybody was on observation. And some of the people in the jury, the jurors, are telling it. They're telling it. Yeah. And like, who said, when his family and stuff was there when they was selecting the jury, so where they work and what they do and all that type of stuff, his family, see, they should have all of that. They should have all of that private. Nobody should know where these people work to get in there and to be able to try to bribe him. And I think that if there's ever a appeal or what have you, and they go to court, then the jury needs to be sequestered. Period. I put it on Diddy's tab.
Something could be going on, but we don't know, like I said. But there is a theory, and I may do a video on it. I may have to do it on my Patreon because it could get hit on YouTube. Is that she's actually a Fed and worked as Diddy's handler. That's why she's been with him for decades, and she's actually his cleanup woman.
What?
I haven't heard about any charges. Now, something could be going on, but we don't know, like I said. But there is a theory, and I may do a video on it. I may have to do it on my Patreon because it could get hit on YouTube. Is that she's actually a Fed and worked as Diddy's handler. That's why she's been with him for decades, and she's actually his cleanup woman to all of the shady things that Diddy does. So, again, like I said, that's going to have to be on my Patreon. The link is in the description box below, but I will let you guys know when that comes out. But I think it's worth asking questions, right? Conspiracy theories? We're not saying it's concrete, but there's some things we need to figure out. The day wrapped with a tease about Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy, which Jane followed closely on Instagram. Garagos asked, "You were upset because you'd seen him in Vegas with another woman. And then Cassie's lawsuit dropped. Right, Jane?" Jane said, yes, she admitted this. Before she could elaborate, an objection led to a sidebar, and the court actually ended early. So they were supposed to go longer today till like 5 o'clock East Coast time. But when that came out and the prosecutors objected to that line of questioning, they have the sidebar, then court is adjourned. But here's the kicker. The prosecution wants to introduce Jane's journal entries written after Cassie's lawsuit. So that is to counter the defense's claim that Jane might be fabricating her testimony in order to please the government. Jane testified she got immunity, meaning she's protected as long as she doesn't lie. But the defense hinted that the government may decide what's a lie and what's not, suggesting that they are pressuring her or leading her. The judge will make a ruling tomorrow on whether these journals can come in, but I think it's a cliffhanger. And if the journals actually show Jane's unfiltered thoughts from that time, they could either bolster the story or bolster like her testimony she's given, or give the defense ammo to question her motives. Either way, it's a high stakes move. Like I said, court wrapped up early, but not before dropping a bombshell. The prosecution plans to rest their case by either next Wednesday or Friday. That means Diddy's defense could start as early as next week, guys. Like, we could see Diddy on the stand next week. God, that is wild. I'm actually so looking forward to it because they said he's going to testify. Now, 3 more witnesses are up tomorrow after Jane's cross-examination wraps up, including a summary witness who will break down the case with exhibits for the jury. The prosecution's trimming their witness list, but the anticipation is electric. There's even possibly a victim number 5 who may testify. Everyone is buzzing with victim number 5 and Diddy possibly testifying next week. So make sure you guys are subscribed and hit the notification bell, because we will be bringing you all the things that come out of court. I mean, as usual, but especially if Diddy's on the stand.
Mm-hmm. Okay, last one. We're not gonna watch it all though, cause it's long.
Choosing internet shouldn't be confusing. It should be based on how you live. Whether you're a casual streamer.
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing today? Well, baby, if you are Diddy's team, you have just made a fatal error. If you guys don't know, court started a little bit later today from 1 to 5, but Diddy's team has just made a fatal error. And you guys, I think this guarantees he's not going free. Yo, Teddy Garagos was the one. Okay, if you guys don't know, let me give you a thing about what happened, right? First, I have to give you like the legal background, okay? There's such a thing as opening a door, okay? Remember when I said law is a game, right? And you never want to ask. It's the epitome of never ask a question you don't want the answer to. Do not, hey, what's up, good logic? Pretty good. Do not ask the question that you do not want the answer to. Why? Because only things that there's certain things that under the hearsay rule and the federal rules of evidence, you cannot talk about, which is why something might have happened, such as Bona getting a settlement offer from Diddy, but you can't talk about it in court because it's hearsay upon hearsay, blah, 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 blah. However, there is an exception that every lawyer hopes and prays for. What is that exception? That you open the door on it. What is opening the door? It's basically saying, Tisa, you cannot talk about the way you saw John steal cookies, okay? All right? You can, let me take my earrings off. Getting hyped. You cannot talk about the way John steals cookies, right? Jessica Washington, thank you so much for the super chat. However, John starts talking about the cookies. Oh, baby, I've got things to say. Because not only did I not see you steal the cookies, John, but I had a video, I had the text messages, I had the notes. So you want to talk about the cookies? Let's talk about the cookies. That is why that even though things are on the direct, and even though things are on cross-examining, they walk a narrow line.
Hi,
You
Rams.
want to really get in evidence and insinuate things that lead the jury to believe that your side is right, but you don't want to open the door to any line of questioning that can do your client dirty, especially with defense. Deborah Graham, thank you so much. So where does that equal into Jane? Oh my God, you guys. Jane had, so there are notes that Jane took in her, there's notes that were taken in the notes app, right? Let me be very clear about this, okay? Now, all the notes prior to Cassie's lawsuit, they didn't talk about because it deals with state of mind, this and that. But the defense had argued that it stops once Cassie filed her lawsuit in November 2023. Now, here's the thing. Jane has a lot of text messages from November 23 to November 2024, which, whatever are in those text messages, the defense has been fighting tooth and nail to keep out. Whatever it is, it's so big, it's so damaging that the defense has been going crazy saying that they should not be, that the prosecution should not be allowed to reference them. And the reason they actually got that off is because they said, listen, we're making arguments, right? Because you can make an argument on motive. We're making an argument, right, that one of Jane's motives for maybe not telling the truth and maybe not being truthful is Cassie's lawsuit. You saw the lawsuit, you wanted to get money, you saw what Cassie said, and you tailored your testimony to sound like Cassie. Motive is a very good thing. The jury gets into it. Like, yeah, maybe you did do this. However, okay, the prosecution was able to bring in all the text messages from November 2023 prior, because they say, how can this be the motive when she was thinking this, even before she even knew about Cassie's lawsuit. So how can you really say that this is motive? It's not over, okay? However, the prosecution has been fighting to get the text messages in from November 23rd to November 2023 to November 2024, but they didn't have a drawer. I don't know what is going on with Tenny Garrigus because we know she is one of the best. Listen, Diddy got $1 million lawyer team, multi-million-dollar, and it shows, okay? Tenny, Brian, Westmoreland, Xavier, right? Even throwing Mark Agnifilio, right? They have a multi-million-dollar team, okay? But Tenny's been off yesterday, and she's been off today. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why, but she hasn't seemed like she is on top of her game. I'm actually just tired. They didn't make Miss Westmoreland do it, right? Anyway, Tenny, in her cross-examination, she was implying that the reason why Jane might be doing this is because she made a throwaway comment where she said, and you're doing this because of the immunity deal. The immunity deal. She said, absolutely. She said, you're doing this for the immunity deal. Absolutely. And what happens in the immunity deal? Jane was like, they get to decide whether I'm telling if I lie, then I'm paraphrasing. If I lie, then I go to jail or like whatever, right? And Timmy said, and who gets to decide?
I think the jury was bought and paid for. This case is about public community.
Who gets to decide?
Character. It has a character assassination, and he did it. Stop pressure. Hey, Tehran.
The government gets to decide if you're telling truth, right?
How you gonna say that and he done already? Oh my God!
At least the way I heard it. Okay?
I can't with you.
That moment.
I cannot with you.
That she
Stop
might be
it.
changing her testimony to go along with what the prosecution says, right? To go along with what the prosecution says, because she's trying to get out of jail. She's tailoring. She's trying to keep on their good favor. Okay. This is what is being implied. All right. And I remember that comment. And I didn't think that it was going to come back, but baby, the prosecutors have been going through everything. And they said, they literally did a Kanye West, and they was like, gotcha, because they actually got her. Maureen Comey literally jumped up. Hold on. Okay, so listen. Maureen Comey jumped up, and we'll get into something else. I think I'm not the only one that thought Tenny was off her game. Dick kept looking over at her like, girl, if you don't get on your job, right? Diddy, shut up, because at the end of the day, what you gonna do with Rotten Zucchini, okay? Anyway, you guys, don't forget, I will be on Spoutable Friday. There's gonna be a link in the description box.
Shout out to Tisa.
Judge Aaron put the fear of God on Diddy. When they went to a sidebar, right? Time, right? I think I'm gonna have a giveaway, okay? I think I'm gonna give away $250. $50, okay? So, Najma, Diddy was sitting there with his head down and his hand over his face like this. Yo, this is blah, 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 blah. And the first person to actually tell me that, orally, they will be immediately sent $250.
Yes, he
okay?
did it,
So,
but they just want to publicly expose him.
The jury
no. He shouldn't have tried to have a stop.
What they want to listen to what is going on, okay? Okay. So anyway, Oh, one thing that I did think was really funny is Judge Aaron put the fear of God on Diddy. When they went to a sidebar, right? The jury was sitting there. I was looking to see what Diddy did. He must got the fear of God. Diddy was sitting there with his head down and his hand over his face like this. So nobody could misinterpret him at all of looking at the jury. I don't know why. I just thought that
because he nodded his head again
anyway,
yesterday.
Also, the government, I'll get to all this later. Let's get to the big mistake, and then I'll get into like the government.
Okay, come on, so I can go.
They think they're gonna arrest. They told us what the next witnesses are. The prosecution is holding their witnesses and how long their case is going to take close to the trial. I'll tell y'all about all that later. Let's get into this, right? Okay. here's the thing. Okay, so Marie Comey jumped up and baby, she was hot. And she's like, Your Honor, if I may. And he was like, go ahead, counselor, right? Oh my God, Najma Brown said, congratulations on your test. Thank you. You're doing an excellent job. Hold on, I'm missing. Okay, let me tell the story, then I'll get right to the super chats. But let me just get through the story, because we got a lot to talk about, you guys. I think this is it. I think Diddy is really done. And I'm so glad that it looks like justice is going to be served. I kind of feel bad for Tini Garagos. This is if the judge grants the order, but it looks like it is, all right? So Marie Comey jumped up, and she was like, Your Honor, we believe a door has been opened by, Your Honor, this is the way she goes. She always leans to the side. Your Honor, we believe a door, and she's speaking into the microphone, all right? Your Honor, we believe a door has been opened by defense counselors on cross-examination. They directly questioned the immunity received, and then she quoted, you said, who decides who's telling the truth? Prosecutors. We believe that she was implying that Jane changed her testimony to go along with what the prosecutors were saying to avoid jail time at some point. We believe this opened the door, and we believe that we want things. We believe that we now have a right to bring in her notes. Her notes are literally like her digital diary, right? And now, here's the thing. She said, we want to bring in all notes that Jane had before November 2024. And I said, oh, right? Now, here's the thing. At that time, Tini Garagos was still at the podium where they questioned the witness. The witness and the jury had gone. Okay, so here's the thing. She was still at the thing. She started, like, rubbing her hands just a little bit and twitching, which is weird because Tini Garagos is usually so composed. She was twitching, she was rubbing her hands, and I said, you know what? I think she actually made a mistake, okay? And then I was like, yo, I think this is actually really, really big, right? Again, I literally was like, yo, they just made a major mistake, because Tini was like at the thing, just looking. They didn't want those notes admitted. And yo, it seems like Jane was talking mad-ish in those notes, okay? Now, she said that, so then the defense jumps up, right? And he was like, Your Honor, in November 2024, she was aware of the settlement, right? Jane was aware of the settlement that Cassie had gotten, right? And the government investigation actually began at that point of November 2024, sorry, right? And they said that, and there was a government immunity order. So why do they get to admit new notes? Because they can admit anything before 2023, right? However, Marie Comey was like, Your Honor, they are literally trying to say that a witness is only saying this because she had a motive that the government gave her immunity in November of 2024.
Okay, y'all pause before my juice fall out. I gotta go over here. Hold on, let's hear this.
And sit down and shut the door. Diddy just blew up his own case. If you don't believe what I'm talking about, there was a June 9th filing by the government. There is a secret phone. This secret phone has damning evidence that could do Diddy in. On top
Did
of
we
this,
just hear about a phone?
It's ending early, and it started late today. You guys, again,
Didn't we just hear something about a phone?
You know what I'm talking about. There was a secret phone found. Diddy found the phone, and Diddy was the one. There was old messages that said what the phone did, how bad it was. It indicts KK, and now they're trying to say it's privileged information. Y'all, let's get into this because you can't.
Yeah, we just heard this.
Okay, so where do we start? Okay, let's just give this a quick rundown.
Let's go.
For anybody that is doubting, okay? This is the hidden phone, and this is breaking news that changes everything.
We just heard this though, right?
Inside a June 9th filing. It was just filed 2 days ago.
Didn't we just hear about the hidden phone that he was just asking this guy to find that phone for Gerda and get the attorney? But okay. Okay, let's go.
I believe is why the court has been ending early and coming in early.
Let's
get into this.
Coming in late.
Maybe he didn't delete it. He found it. And he texted KK about it. And now the government has it. And the June 9th filing drops
Oh, that may be why KK the Fed.
a voice note.
When you said KK was the Fed pressure.
KK. And the prosecutors are saying this proves obstruction. Listen, KK, not KK, Tenny Garagos has been in court for the last 3 days reading us emojis. Well, baby, we got some emojis. The prosecution got some emojis for your ASS. And this is from your own client, okay? Now, here's the background on device 2. That's what they're talking about. It's message discovery.
Y'all give my likes up. Support the platform, because I was sure about to go.
A text and voice note quotes. Now,
yeah,
it's privilege, and that the government should be able to use it. However, this is an obstruction of justice, okay?
Diddy done screwed himself again.
Defense strategy. This wasn't legal prep. This was panic prep. And if the court, this is an obstruction of.
Okay, stop.
That's what they're talking about. It's message discovery. To be exact, June 23rd, June 2023, a text and voice note quotes. Now, they're saying it's privileged and that the government should be able to use it. However, this is an obstruction of justice, okay? A charge that the feds are trying to levy against Diddy, and this could shift the entire defense strategy. This wasn't legal prep. This was panic prep. And if the court agrees, this won't just be not protected. This will be Exhibit A. Y'all, let's get into this, okay? Now again, let's start from the beginning, because you know I like to be dramatic. Sean Diddy Combs may have just sealed his own legal fate, and not in the court, but the text. This June 9th filing is a game changer. This is coming directly from the Department of Justice, and it reveals a hidden phone. Not just any phone.
Hey,
one that Diddy suddenly
the T-sip.
Months after a federal investigation that he knew was going on, and he was in jail. This is right before he got arrested. And the messages he sent about it, they were panicked, they were incriminating, and possibly this is the clearest sign of obstruction. Diddy is going to jail forever. Okay, this is a June 9th. This got filed, okay? Again, I think this is why they've been ending early and coming in late. I know what you're saying. Tisa, shut up and get to the point. Okay, I'll do this, right?
Come on,
Now, the purpose of this memo was to reject Diddy's claim that his June 23rd message.
Let's go.
In 23. Messages, including a voice note and a photo of a secret phone, are protected under attorney-client privilege. The document centers on what prosecutors are calling June 23 messages. This came from device 2 and an iPhone 11 seized when Diddy was arrested in Miami in September 2024. Now, inside the phone, they found the digital smoking gun.
Smoking gun!
This is what it said. Call me back. It's important. Good news, I think. This is literally the digital message he sent KK, okay? Diddy sent a text. This is when they found it. Call me back. It's important. Good news, I think. Then, I don't know how in the world, but all of a sudden this phone just came up and we found in the house. There's just data-wise, it has to be a lot of shit on this phone. I didn't delete nothing. Mind you, the feds are actually reading this mess. I didn't delete nothing. Listen to what this idiot said. I don't know how in the world, but all of a sudden this phone, device 1, just came up, we found in the house. And it's from the time when me and female 1 went to the thing. So there's got to be so much stuff on the hard drive of this phone. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to send you a picture of it so you can see and understand, like, this could be a big breakthrough, because just like we didn't have the phone and this phone is just sitting there and there's just data-wise has to be a lot of shit on this phone. I didn't delete nothing out of the phone. I'm going to send you a picture of it. Y'all. And then this was the voice note. And then he sent a picture of it to KK. This is an idiot. We've been thinking he is a Marvel superhero. villain, a super villain, he is an idiot. But get this, he then went on to say, yo, I need to speak to my lawyer. Send me Tenny's number. Yes, he then put prayer hand emojis behind it. He made prayer hand emojis into a federal filing. Y'all, now let's break this down. Why this is legally devastating for Diddy. This isn't just bad optics, aside from his idiocy.
Where all the people say he,
justice.
they did, what they asked him today, did he know what he was doing?
Found months after the raid. So the raid people didn't find the phone unless they set his ass up.
Set that ass up.
And the phone device
Set that ass
resurfaced in June 2024. Okay? Now, this is from 2023. However, he found the phone in 2024, just a few months before he got arrested. This implies knowledge that it existed, and perhaps a decision
And he knew about it
to turn it over to the feds, and that's withholding evidence, which is a clear textbook obstruction of obstruction of justice, right? But get this. Diddy just didn't find it. He narrated his own downfall. He created a digital trail of his own freakout. He sent a voice note. He sent a photo. He panics. He texted his assistant, which everybody's saying.
So KK gave it to the feds,
asking for his lawyer's number. Then caps it off with, I can't play these games right now. Please send me the number. It's important. Now, don't forget around this time,
woo! He is on worst enemy. He is on snitch. Yeah, he is on snitch.
KK had ghosted Diddy. He would not return any phone calls, right?
You've probably heard about Boxable's flagship product, the Casita.
The government's read, now they're trying to say that they can't use this in court because this was privileged information, attorney-client privilege. The only part is KK is Diddy's assistant, not anyone that works for Mark Garagos, Mark Agnifilo, or anything like that. So again, the government's read is this wasn't legal strategy. This was a telephone operator energy. Stafford acted as a mere telephone operator, not asked to convey or receive legal advice. So the privilege argument seems to be dead on arrival. Diddy's legal team says this chain is protected by attorney-client privilege. But here's the thing, the DOJ was surgical. They said there is nothing collaborative about these statements, and the defendant merely said he needed to talk to his lawyers about something important. He did not say what that important thing was. He did not expressly link it to the discovery of Device One. Okay? They even cite actual cases, Mija, Koval, and Akron, cases that narrowly define privilege. The bottom line is they're saying you don't get to hide evidence behind a lawyer's name.
Yes, Fed set him up.
When you're just texting your assistant.
That was
like
one of 3 phones they got pictures
now let's
of.
get into the obstruction angle. All right, this is very
Set
important.
that
What
ass
makes
up.
this moment different from everything else in the case? This is new, specific, and actionable. It's not
They
a
said
story someone
Diddy's
told.
ass
It's not a
up.
memory. It's Diddy's own voice acknowledging the existence of the device he didn't turn over during a criminal investigation. Okay, I'm looking at my notes and then scrambling to contain it. Okay. This is actual language of obstruction. You knew there was material evidence. You failed to produce it during a search. You tried to handle it outside of official channels, and you wanted to lawyer up, but only after creating a digital trail. You guys,
Hello,
this is bad.
Lakay.
This isn't just
Woo,
bad.
done.
This is literally like something. Again, it's biblical.
MEMPHIS
You
said
found the
that
crime
ass
phone.
up.
You narrated it. You photographed it. You texted KK about it. And then you said prayer emojis. Baby, you can't manufacture attorney-client privilege just because somebody is playing a game of operator, okay? And you can't get it by dragging your assistant, who is trying to beat these co-conspirator charges. She was named as an unofficial co-conspirator, let's not forget. Yes, an unofficial co-conspirator, right? So you can't unsend the voice note either, and you can't claim ignorance after you literally said, and I quote,
Set that ass up.
so much
Set that ass up.
me and female
Set
one
that
went
ass
to
up.
that thing. Baby, maybe all eyes want to eyes white chat parties, okay? So what do we
Hey,
have?
Xanax.
The June 9th filing listen, to some people may not be dramatic on the surface. It's legal language.
Some he didn't want to be seen.
Filtered messages. But What it represents
some
is the
people's
collapse
butts.
of privilege, the exposure of a digital breadcrumb trail, and the moment when prosecutors can now point and say,
Jay-Z.
he knew it, he hid it.
Kanye.
Here's the proof. The next move, the judge is going to have to rule whether this chain is admissible. Okay? This is, and of course he's going to rule it's admissible. This is not just bad for Diddy, it's structurally ruinous to the defense because the feds didn't find this in a raid. They found it in Diddy's own words. You guys, listen, this is some wild mess. Again, Diddy,
this is what happens when you think you
I
are
don't know how in
God.
the world
God
it all set this
appears.
phone just came up and found it in the house. This after the raid, and it's the time.
When you have played God for so long, God gonna pull your coattail, not the hem of the garment, but your coattail, and stop that ass. You are not God all by yourself. You thought you was God until God appeared. Ooh, they set that ass up. Ooh, what's the name of our sandwich, y'all? Because the feds done made a sandwich. I told y'all week 1 the feds was making a big old sandwich. Bruh, man, fifth floor sandwich. What's the name of the sandwich? What is the name of the sandwich?
Factor attorney-client privilege just because somebody is playing a game of operator, okay? And you can't get it by dragging your assistant who is trying to beat these co-conspirators.
Told y'all it was just a back
unofficial
casting.
co-conspirator, let's not forget. Yes, an unofficial co-conspirator, right? So you can't unsend the voice note either, and you can't claim
Hi,
ignorance
Gwendolyn.
after you literally said, and I quote, "There's got to be so much ish in that phone. Me and female 1 went to that thing. Baby, maybe there are eyes wide shut parties, okay? So what do we have it? The June 9th filing may, listen, to some people may not be dramatic on the surface. It's legal language, case law citations, and filtered messages. But what it represents is the collapse of privilege, the exposure of a digital breadcrumb trail, and the moment when prosecutors can now point and say, he knew it, he hid it. Here's the proof. The next move, the judge is going to have to rule whether this chain is admissible. Okay? This is, and of course he's going to rule it's admissible. This is not just bad for Diddy, it's structurally ruinous to the defense because the feds didn't find this in a raid. They found it in Diddy's own words. You guys, listen, this is some wild mess. Again,
He told on the cell. He
Diddy
snitched on the cell.
literally put, I don't know how in the world, but all
Okay, y'all, I'm finna get ready.
came up and found it in the house this after the raid, and it's the time for when me and female 1 went to the thing. So it's got to be so much stuff on the hard drive of the phone. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna send you a picture of it so you can see and understand it. This could be a big breakthrough because like we didn't have the phone, and this phone is just sitting there. And there's just data-wise has to be a lot of shit on this phone. And then he starts begging, and I mean begging KK to give him
A sloppy Joe
number.
sandwich.
But don't forget that, right? Don't forget.
It's flawed. Hi,
Around
Paul.
this time, KK was ghosting Diddy, and people were saying that KK was flipping. She eventually broke down and gave him Tenny Garrigo's number, but like the government said, you never said you needed this for this. You never said this was privileged information. You literally found something. It was begging them to give you your lawyer's number so you could figure out
Shout
what
out
to
to
do with it.
Diddy.
You guys, this could actually be the smoking gun in the Diddy trial, and this explains why court has ended early, why there's been sidebars, I believe, and also I think this explains very quickly why court started so late. Again, this was just filed on the 9th. You guys, stay tuned. You know we're following this case. I'm gonna be on Spoutable. Friday, we can do questions and answers. Maybe we'll read legal
Ooh,
documents.
this
We're gonna
is
go
good,
live
y'all.
tomorrow
I'm
after
finna.
court and go over all these legal
The
documents.
government said, Your Honor, however, if we can show these notes for the November 2020.
Look here, y'all. I'm finna get ready to go. I'm already 3.5 hours in. I ain't getting no love and support.
The government wants you to say, because you were
Yeah, I'm finna get ready to go. No super chat. No cash
What the
out.
government wanted. You were
No
100%
nothing.
doing that. So what's going on, Your Honor? Why would that happen?
And I only got
Again,
6%
right?
battery juice. I'm finna get ready to go.
So then they were like, the defense was like, Your Honor, any additional
I
statements.
watched done. We don't name other people over here. Are you
Any
crazy?
additional statements, they can
You can't
rebut
come over here some name dropping other people and you ain't supporting my platform. Where you what?
2023 to 2024, okay? And get this, I know Jane was talking mad.
Shabir, the queen.
There's so many.
Are you tripping?
That's certainly not. Oh, more protests. Okay, right? Anyway, I was like, who's swatting me right now?
Done.
Again, Keeney was nervous.
Nah, not you. Hey,
Nervous.
Done.
Marine called me, hit her with the, Your Honor, we want E331 NOKLAMP. We want it all
Done.
admitted, right? Right?
Don't get quiet now. How dare you? Have you been here before? Have you supported my platform while you dropping other people's names? What you think that's called? You think that's cool? You don't drop my name over there? Get your ass from over here. Playing in my face. Y'all say bye to Don. Bye. I'm playing my face. Get your ass from over here. They tried me. See, that's what happens when I'm too nice. Michael said, rest in peace. Get your ass, you shit.
The defense jumps up. Your Honor, this is preposterous.
The hood comes out at night.
Extraneous.
The hood comes out at night.
Marine hit them with the
The hood comes out.
She was going in on it. She was like, Your Honor, this is 100% relevant. They were still in a relationship. They were still in the whole storm.
For doing the butt. Diddy facing life.
Since they were still in the heartland of
He didn't know when to exit.
Okay?
He didn't know when to stop.
Value weighs heavy. She said, Your Honor, if there was no relationship anymore, and she's just talking
He didn't know when to stop.
to her voice notes, maybe that's something that shouldn't be brought up. But she was deep in the relationship, still in the heartland. So you cannot. So these are her thoughts and recollections as recorded to her, how she felt in the relationship. Again, everybody's getting nervous. Shapiro's leaned over to Brian. Shapiro's leaned over to Brian Still. Diddy is looking at Tinny. Tinny is just fidgeting at the podium. It was not good. You never want to open a door. And they 100% opened the door, right?
Y'all want to see what this Don look like?
She said especially because
that I've ever been lifted before.
Lawyer slaying for. You're literally trying to.
He was out of his league in the first place.
Try to get evidence after the fact and paper the file, right? Like, all of a sudden, and you start taking notes, and there was some media, but prior to a $1 billion lawsuit, you've never made.
Dash your ass right on up out of here.
There's no record that she was
doing the butt. Hi, Rob.
There was no basis at all for them to even imply that prosecution.
He took that song doing the butt. I agree.
Anything, right? So anyway, Mark Agnifilio gets up, and that's when I said, oh, they worried. He was like, Yana, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to double team, because, you know, it was so much that Marie Comey was on the ones and twos. Get it, Your Honor, Your Honor, Your Honor.
And like they were literally popping up the defense like whack-a-moles because they wanted to speak. They all had something. They were super worried, right? And so Mark Affiliate told her, like, Your Honor, I didn't mean to make it seem like it was a double team because I was standing up. And I said, Mark, it's double team.
Oh, they got other cases coming?
Really be using
This just the first. They got other cases coming in different states, in California and Florida.
And who did they say? I know he kept LeBron's name out of this, right? But I'm sure it's like, do you really want that visual of double team? We already got Shaq, Kobe, and Michael Jordan. We don't need to think about any more double teaming or anything in this case, right? Anyway, she said that. Hold on, you guys. So she said that. I'm gonna get to the super chats. I'm going to get into. I'm going to get into the super chats in a second.
Oh.
Okay, right? She's like, so Matt Carter completely comes up and tries to do his little voodoo. He's like, Your Honor, right? The government is trying to say that she's basically a co-conspirator, and that's why this should be admitted. Well, the truth is, Your Honor, she
What
never
bombshell
was.
video?
She didn't think she was going to be prosecuted.
What bombshell
Not under the
video?
Mann Act, not for the drug testimony,
What
not for
bombshell
anything. So then Judge
video?
Aaron literally jumps in and he was like, okay, because this is what
Y'all
he asks
listen.
questions.
Bombshell
He tests their
video.
argument and says like the devil's advocate thing. He said, okay, well, hold on, counselor.
Getting it together.
What do you mean?
How
that she
getting
never
it
thought she would be
together with
prosecuted? Seriously, why would they offer
Drea?
her immunity? There's stuff under the Mann Act, which is the RICO Act of prostitution, and also the drug testimony that she literally was a drug mule. So why would you think that Jane doesn't think that she's not for the drug testimony, not for anything? So then Judge Aaron literally jumps in and he was like, okay, because this is what he does. He asks questions, like he tests their argument and says like the devil's advocate thing. He said, okay, well, hold on, counselor, because what do you mean that she never thought she would be prosecuted? Seriously, why would they offer her immunity? There's stuff under the Mann Act, which is the RICO Act of prostitution, and also the drug testimony that she literally was a drug mule. So why would you think that Jane doesn't think that she's actually going to be prosecuted? Like, it's a real thing. And I was Jane, I would think so, right? Now, I'm paraphrasing that at the end, but he did say, I'm not sure she was never in any danger of being prosecuted, right? And listen, so she said, listen.
Visit Community Blood Center to get your good karma by the pint. We got into more racy and bombshell text messages, hotel nights, even a video that all further examines the relationship between alleged victim
What video?
defendant Sean Diddy Combs. Long Crimes in Court reporter Elizabeth Milner.
DJ Diddy? What you talking about? What you mean?
Welcome to Sidebar.
Bye. You coming in not speaking? You coming in wrong.
Shots and were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor called meningioma, you may be eligible for a lawsuit. That's right, Morgan & Morgan is investigating claims that patients weren't properly warned about this risk. It's free to check, just takes a few minutes, and you don't pay. This in-court reporter Elizabeth Milner, who's been not only in the courtroom nefarious sex trafficker as sexual episodes with other men, who was testifying using a pseudonym, explained that she was essentially pressured into. But then on cross-examination, they seem to be trying to suggest this was consensual, that she was a willing participant, that he is this nefarious sex trafficker as portrayed by the prosecution, that there was no force, fraud, or coercion. So I want to bring on Long Crimes in-court reporter Elizabeth Milner, who's been not only in the courtroom today for all the action, but in the courtroom for every minute of the action, every day. And particularly today with the cross-examination of Jane, it's really interesting. Elizabeth, before we even get into that, there was a lot of chatter, particularly on the lunchtime show that we do on Long Crimes YouTube, and commentary about this juror. There's apparently some sort of issue with a juror. I know we have limited information, but based on what was said in court, can you elaborate on this?
Yeah, so they gave us little tidbits, little pieces of information, little nuggets here and there, but it seems like from the defense's perspective that they really want to keep this particular juror, and they want to make sure that this juror will not be dismissed. Now, if this juror might possibly just be dismissed, that is still kind of up in the air. Even seen in the transcripts, that portion is redacted or appealed. And so the defense was just pretty much saying that they want to be able to respond to what the government responded to in another letter. And so they said pretty much that they
say what?
And this is the defense making this argument that the government just wants to strike.
Y'all need to support the platform. Cash out, super chat, super stickers. I'm going on 4 hours.
Lack of compelling, and then they were kind of going so fast. But as far as just what the judge said, as far as what will happen kind of next, is that we'll deal with this issue before the weekend. And so it's still kind of up in the air as far as even all the jurors being inside the courtroom today, because it was a little bit of a shorter session today. Everyone was in there. I saw all the jurors. So nobody has been dismissed thus far. Nobody's been kicked out just yet or anything like that. But we should know before the week is over what will happen to this juror number 6.
Yeah, I saw reporting that the prosecution says there's a lack of candor, meaning I don't know, the juror wasn't being honest with something during jury
So it's still kind of up in the air as far as even all the jurors being inside the courtroom today, because it was a little bit of a shorter session today. Everyone was in there. I saw all the jurors. So nobody has been dismissed thus far. Nobody's been kicked out just yet or anything like that. But we should know before the week is over what will happen to this juror number 6.
Yeah, I saw reporting that the prosecution says there's a lack of candor, meaning I don't know, the juror wasn't being honest with something during jury selection. I'm not sure. Hopefully get more information as the week progresses, but let's now get into Jane's testimony. So it seems to me, and there's a lot to get into here, it seems to me a big theme today was trying to stress that she wasn't objecting to the hotel nights, or that she was somehow setting them up or encouraging them, and also how she communicated.
Oh, yeah.
How she communicated with the sex workers.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit
And
about
Epstein.
Yeah, so it was another day, and again, even though it was a short day, it was another day where we were seeing a lot, or not we were seeing a lot of text exhibits, because while Jane is still on the stand, unfortunately, we cannot see the exhibits. They are not shown on the exhibit screen, but we're hearing about all these different exhibits. So sometimes when I say we're seeing, the jury's actually seeing it, but we are hearing about all these different text messages. And so, yes, it seemed like the theme from the defense's cross-examination of Jane today was definitely like, it seemed from their kind of theory of this that Jane was a willing participant, even went as far as to set up these hotel nights, and even went as far as to book these entertainers that she specifically wanted for these various hotel nights. And so just right off the bat, we're seeing text exhibits between Jane and Cabral, one of the entertainers or escorts that they used, from December 20th of 2021. So kind of early-ish into the relationship between Sean Combs and Jane. And so
in our lively home, every day is special, but sometimes the world outside sends us surprises.
So these text messages were after a hotel night where Cabral is saying, "Good morning, love. How are you feeling? We had a pretty intense night. That was the roughest sex we ever had." And then Jane is responding, "Ha ha 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 ha," a bunch of emojis. That was one for the books. And then Jane also responded, "Send me something." And then the defense was kind of getting into the length of these hotel nights, where one of the longest hotel nights that she had done was 3 days, which is a long period of time. And then under direct, when AUSA Maureen Comey was doing her direct examination of Jane, Jane was explaining that New Year's Eve of 2022, that Diddy came to Jane's hotel, and that 3 men were there that night, and that she seemed okay with doing these types of nights. But as far as Jane's kind of role in setting up these hotel nights, the jury did see other text exhibits between Jane and Cabral, where Cabral is saying, "Hey, I'll be in LA of February," and Jane is saying, "Hey babe, happy Friday, are you up? How are you? It's my birthday weekend and you didn't show me love. I haven't forgotten that your LA dates are coming up. Make me a personal video just for me." And then Cabral responds to these text messages. And so then the jury also saw more text exhibits kind of going back in time, April 4th of 2022, between Jane and Sean Combs, where Diddy is saying, "I've been having crazy fantasies about you," and Leo being the Italian person that Jane references. He's actually one of the entertainers, but she calls him the Italian. And then Jane is saying, "I'll figure out what time I can make it out there. Baby, I want to make love to you. I haven't had you to myself. It's been 5 months. I'm fine with the other stuff." And Diddy is saying that he's aroused. "What have you been thinking about? See if the Italian is free after we spend time together. Tomorrow is bad. How about this weekend?" And it seemed like Jane,
After. It's never just him. Oh, I can't wait to make love to you. Yeah, but what about after that? What about the Italian?
Jane and Diddy didn't have hotel nights for about 2 months, whereas under direct, it seemed like Jane was testifying that pretty much every time she saw Diddy that she was doing these hotel nights, but the defense was really kind of saying, well, there were long periods of times where you weren't doing these hotel nights. It could either be weeks on end, it could be months on end, or there were just times where you and Diddy were just hanging out together and being together and in each other's arms, but you guys weren't always doing these hotel nights. And so then more text exhibits were shown to the jury, this being in June 19th of 2022, where Jane is saying, I'm having a vibe. Diddy says, well, what are you in the mood for? And Jane is saying, a good time. And then Diddy's saying, you planned something for me. Jane said, I know what you want, but I'm not in the mood. I don't want to make you mad. And then Diddy responds, all good. Surprised me with a freak-off role play. And so I think the defense also pointing out here that they didn't do a hotel night, even though it was kind of insinuated in these particular messages. But what they ended up doing was having a movie night, and that was a night where they weren't watching movies, you know, a good movie from a movie theater or anything like that, but they were watching movies that would either be pornography or movies that they filmed together during these hotel nights. And so the defense really kind of, I think, poked a lot of holes as far as Jane saying under direct that every time she always did these hotel nights, every single time she saw Sean Combs or saw Diddy. But under the defense's cross-examination, they were really like,
but they can't just see each other without sex, though.
And the idea, right, that he didn't always force or demand her to engage in this, but she was a partner in it. And I remember there was a message.
Oh my God.
Where she had messaged him, not really in the mood for that part, don't want to make you mad. And he allegedly responds, all good. And then there's messages where she expresses her love for him. Like, I love you so much as my friend, my lover, my boyfriend, even though you don't like that word. Weren't they really trying to show today, through her messages and his messages,
girl, that was not your boyfriend. That was your pimp.
Or asking her opinion about this and trying to show the love.
She should have said my lover, my pimp, my homie.
Yeah, the very soft side from what we see. Like, there are times, Jesse, where the messages are being read aloud, and it seems like they're sometimes, I kind of hate to put it this way, like they're two high school kids in love. Like, you really, at times, I felt kind of conflicted as far as just hearing these, because there's, you know, the aspects of his testimony under direct, right? But then there's aspects of the cross examination where the defense was kind of like, okay, the government didn't show you every single thing between their relationship, and there were just kind of a lot of things. And so Jane, throughout her testimony, even under direct, even under cross-examination, she really kind of expresses very often how much she loves pleasing her partner, her romantic partner, her lover, and that being Sean Combs around the time. And so we're hearing more text exhibits, July 22nd of 2022, where Jane is saying, good morning, baby, I had such a great time with you. Diddy saying, want to do dinner at 9, pack a freak bag just in case. But then the defense pointed out to Jane, okay, well, just because he made you pack a freak bag doesn't mean you guys always did hotel nights, right? And Jane was like, yeah, that is true, and that she would normally just pack these freak night bags or these freak bags, and she would put lingerie and high heels and just things that he likes inside these particular bags. And so then we're hearing more text exhibits around that same time frame, summer of 2022. So this is July 27th of 2022, where Diddy's saying, what do you want to do? And Jane is saying, well, what do you want to do, baby? And then just that, are you aroused for me? And Diddy's like, okay, well, can you? I'm going to work out with Paul and then meet up with you. And then Jane is saying, do you want my hair up? And Diddy's saying, okay, what time are we ready? So as far as the really lovey-dovey messages, those were also shown a lot today, where there was an exhibit shown to the jury where it was text messages from Jane to Diddy after a hotel night, where then it was kind of interesting, Jesse, because these are really kind of lovey-dovey messages that are being read out loud to the jury. However,
love bombing.
Jane is getting kind of a emotional on the stand, and I kind of even wrote in my notes, I wasn't sure why, because as you're hearing these particular messages being read, it's things like, I love you so much, baby. You're the reason my child smiles. I love you. No other man has treated me this way. Then there's more messages from Jane again, and the defense is pointing out these were after hotel nights where Jane is saying, I love you, baby. Can't wait to see your interview tomorrow. And that Diddy just makes her smile. And Jane wrote, just wanted to make you smile, spending time in the sunshine. Diddy is writing in messages, okay, movie night was off the chain, and Jane is responding, loving that, delicious, and just more messages where you could really see just the between the two. There was one particular video that was actually shown to the jury. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see it, but you could really hear Diddy and Jane kind of in a moment of togetherness, not like that way, but togetherness as far as being together just as two people would in just any other relationship. And so this was a video again shown to the jury where Jane was explaining around this particular time frame. She was really feeling depressed around this, but then you see this video and Diddy is saying, oh, I love this right here. They sounded so in love. Jane is heard laughing a lot in this particular video, and Diddy is saying, I was in a dark hole. You had to save me. You had to pick me up. I love you. And then Jane is saying, I love you too, baby. You did saving on me. And so the defense was saying that around this time frame where Jane is saying that she was really depressed around this time because she was doing all these hotel nights, not with just one man, but with multiple men, and that she was super depressed, that she and Diddy were spending time together, that they were both depressed together. But in this video, you can hear just really just kind of love and laughter. According to Jane, because again, she was getting kind of emotional at points, especially during the latter part of court today, where I was kind of wondering why particularly she was getting a little emotional, as it just seemed pretty innocent, pretty innocent just hearing these texts.
Let me ask you this, it seemed to me based on reading the reporting, she was doubling down on the stand, and correct me if I'm wrong, doubling down on the stand that she was pressured. That she was pressured into this, that it might look like she was all on board with this, but that she felt pressured to do this. And I don't know what that back and forth looked like between her and Tenny Garagos, but would I be wrong that is a common theme, a common response she came back with today?
Yeah, it seemed like she really was kind of doubling down as far as why she was doing these hotel nights, because she wanted to please her partner, but also that she, and that same breath kind of was saying that she was just very uncomfortable with it. But I think the defense was also kind of like, okay, are you saying that you're uncomfortable with these hotel nights because you have regret or resentment now? But it seemed like from these messages, and it seemed like from what we were hearing about in these exhibits, that around the time frame where this was occurring, so between 2021 to 2024, and we haven't even really got into 2024 just yet, that Jane was totally fine, and that the only things that would make her apprehensive about these hotel nights, according to the defense, was that Diddy and other women were being seen together publicly. So they brought up other women, including a name that we've heard a lot during testimony, going all the way back to Cassie, that being Gina, another example being Young Miami. And then it wasn't even just those two, it was other women too, where Jane would spot photos of him with a woman in London and would get upset, and the defense is kind of like, okay, well, is this why you were saying that you didn't want to do a hotel night? Is this why that you were saying you were uncomfortable, as opposed to a couple weeks or months ago where you were planning to do these nights, the sobriety party or the all-star party and those types of things? And so it seemed like a little back and forth where I think Jane at points was kind of getting a little short with her answers, as far as just being like trying to over-explain text messages and why she particularly sent those types of text messages, because it was either to please her partner or because she was reading in between the lines of what Diddy really wanted. And then she would get a little short with Tenny Garagos at some points today, but she held it together as best as she could. But again, going back to some of those points where she was a little emotional on the stand too. So it was a little bit of both today.
Yeah, it's a question, did she have a lack of choice? Was there a lack of consent? The defense is really keen to say it wasn't that she was opposed to these nights because she's a victim of sex trafficking and can't get out. It's that she didn't want to do it if he's cheating on her, right? Or there's another woman beside her. She's not being treated the same way. That's a very different scenario than the sex trafficker victim scenario. And these messages, this video, this testimony may complicate that for the prosecution. Talking about evidence too, I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, was she shown certain exhibits? I don't know if they were pictures. I don't know if there were videos from the hotel nights.
So yeah, she was shown photos before these hotel nights occurred where Diddy and Jane would be on date nights, for example. So the jury was able to see photos from 2023 when Jane was celebrating her birthday with Diddy and they were in a hotel room. And the defense was pointing out here that Diddy's personal photographer came out and did this photo shoot for Jane and Diddy for her birthday. And then Jane was like, well, his butler came with an iPhone. And then Tenny Garagos was kind of like, but his personal photographer also came to the hotel room that night. And Jane is saying, yes, I do remember that. And then Jane was kind of, this another point, Jesse, where Jane was kind of a little bit trying to over-explain her answers at times where she would be asked a question and then she would really get defensive at points, saying she's just adapting to her environment and she did plan these hotel nights, just kind of blurting that part out a little bit at times, especially when it came to the 2023 birthday, which seemed like a very big kind of point of contention as far as she is concerned, where it seemed from one aspect she was really enjoying this particular birthday, but then from another aspect it seemed like she wasn't enjoying this particular birthday. So this was, the jury was shown February 3rd, 2023 text messages where Jane is asking Diddy, hey, can you send me something? And that something being money for her birthday, because she wanted an outfit. She wanted to cover the expenses of this birthday party that she wanted to do with her friends over in Los Angeles and later fly over to Miami to spend time with Diddy. But she asked Diddy for $15,000 just for a 13 to 14 person dinner, which, you know, according to here in New York, that might be a little bit of chump change, but I mean, that is really expensive for just 13 to 14 people. And then the jury also saw text exhibits where Jane was in Miami after this particular birthday, where Jane is saying, baby, is Nobu the only option for dinner? Can we try poppy steak or can we try carbone? And Jane was saying that she was trying to get out of these hotels, and the hotel being Hotel Nobu, which is a very fancy hotel, and Nobu is a very fancy and expensive restaurant that I've always wanted to go to. But anyway, Jane was saying that she wanted Diddy to read between the lines, and again, kind of blurring the lines here as far as just these insinuations versus what was actually said. And so Jane was seeming really upset that Diddy didn't take her to poppy steak or carbone. And this is another point where she was getting kind of short with her answers with Tenny Garagos, where Tenny would ask, oh, have you been over there, or how was it? And then Jane was like, well, I wouldn't know. And so then there were other points where the jury saw exhibit photos from that particular birthday of Jane and Diddy together. Jane was wearing a necklace and a bracelet from Van Cleef, which is a very high-end jewelry
Van Cleefs are pals.
And then Tenny Garagos was like, okay, were you excited to get this present? Were you excited to get your present for your birthday? You're smiling in that photo. And Jane was like, well, I was excited